definitely.
Now, sir, when Colonel Bronkhorst approached you, what was his purpose?
Toe meneer kolonel Bronkhorst meneer genader het, wat was het doel?
Kolonel Bronkhorst, eeral agbare, het my genader. Hy het my verwittig van die insident en hy het by my uitgevind of daar 'n moontlikheid is of hierdie insident vasgevang kon gewees het op ons CCTV kringbeeldmateriaal.
Your Worship, Colonel Bronkhorst approached me. He then informed me about the incident, and he then wanted to know from me if there's a possibility, if the incident was taken up on our cameras.
And what was your response to him, sir?
Wat was meneer se antwoord daarvan?
Eeral agbare, ek het gesê dit is moontlik, aangesien ek gehoor het dit het by die ingang van die begrafplaas gebeur.
Your Worship, I then said to him, it is possible, as I heard that it happened at the entrance of the cemetery.
En ek het vir kolonel Bronkhorst gesê, hy kan 'n bietjie later terugkom en dan kan ons self deur die kringbeeldmateriaal gaan en ons kan vasstel of die insident wel opgevang is op die beeldmateriaal.
Your Worship, I then said to Colonel Bronkhorst that he should come back later so that we can go, me and him together can go through the images to see if that incident was taken up.
Did Colonel Bronkhorst then contact you later?
Het kolonel u later toe contact?
Ja,
Yes.
hy was later weer terug by my gewees in eeral agbare.
He
Yeah.
came back to me later, Your Worship.
Can you recall approximately around about, was it in hours, a couple of hours later, was it in the evening? Can you recall around about what time?
Kan meneer Rando, was het een paar uur later?
Het-
Was het in die aanden? Kan meneer Rando, hoe laat was het?
Ja, eeral agbare, ek kan onthou, dit was
Yes,
bietjie
Your
laat.
Worship, I can't remember.
Dit was later gewees, dit was omtrent so hier by 6, net na 6 in die aand gewees, eeral
Your
agbare.
Worship, it was later, around about 6, after 6 that evening.
Okay. Once Colonel Bronkhorst met you, sir, where did the two of you go to?
Toe kolonel Bronkhorst meneer ontmoet het, want het meneer al gegaan?
Ons het toe na die kontrolekamer van die kamera of my kantoor.
Your Worship, we went to the control office of the camera, or can I say my office?
Korrek.
Now, sir, I want you, from here on onwards, to tell this court step by step what you did from the time you were in the presence of Colonel Bronkhorst up until Colonel Bronkhorst left.
Die aanklager ek wil hê dat meneer die hof stap vir stap moet sê hoe meneer nou saam met meneer Bronkhorst wat van die begin af totdat hy weer verlaat het en daar geloop het, wat het gebeur.
Sekerlik.
Meneer te lang sinnes nie, ek moet woord daar.
Okay.
Okay?
Die eerste stap is ons het vinnig deur die beeldmateriaal beweeg.
Your Worship, the first step, we look quickly through the images.
So ek het natuurlik die beeldmateriaal gefast forward
I fast forwarded the images, Your Worship,
om die uur en die minute te kry wanneer die insident min of meer gebeur het.
to get the hour and the minutes, more or less when the incident happened.
Ons het dit vasgestel op die beeldmateriaal op die kringtelevisie.
We then got hold of it on the images, on the video footage.
En toe het ons nou 'n beginpunt en 'n eindpunt wat ek nou vir die kolonel kan aflaai van die stelsel af.
Worship, we then had a start point and an end point where I can download from the system for the kernel. Ja, meneer kan voortgaan.
Die kolonel het toe vir my net geadviseer om 'n bietjie voor die tyd en 'n bietjie na die tyd die opname te hê, net om veilig te wees.
Your Worship, the colonel then advised me to have some images just before the time and after the time, just to be on the safe side.
En ek het toe hierdie materiaal vir hom op 'n USB flash drive vir hom afgelaai.
Your Worship, I then downloaded this material for you on a USB stick.
After you downloaded this particular information, sir,
Yes.
what did you do with the flash disk?
I handed over to Colonel Bronkhorst.
I handed it over to Colonel Bronkhorst.
Now, just for record purposes, sir, This particular segment that you indicated that Colonel Broncos asked you to cut prior and after, okay?
Yes.
Was it directly saved onto the USB?
Die gedeelte wat meneer gesê het voor die voorval né, en 'n bietjie voor die voorval en na die voorval.
Ja.
Was dit direk oor by
Nee, dit was nie.
No, it was not.
Can you explain, sir?
Kan meneer verduidelik?
So die rede daarvoor was omdat die kringtelevisie oor die oudste skryf, was ek nou bang die sensitiewe inligting gaan verlore.
Your Worship, because as the old material runs over,
So can you just pause it for a second?
We must just get the translation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Worship, can the witness just repeat what he said?
Just repeat, sir.
Ja, sekerlik.
Herhaal net weer asseblief
So wat
wat
ek
meneer nou gesê het.
so die ek het net gou dink waar was ek gewees. Die okay, ons praat van die kringtelevisie.
Ja.
Om u te help, meneer, die
Asseblief.
getuienis was, oor die systeem is besig om dit weer
O,
oor
Okay.
te gaan en sensitiewe inligting
Correct.
kan jy nou aangaan van
okay.
daar af.
So omdat die sensitiewe inligting gedelete kan word, né?
Your Worship, as sensitive information can be deleted,
Download ek die beeldmateriaal op 'n aparte gedeelte van die harde skyf.
Your Worship, I then download the images on a part of the hard drive.
En sodoende weet ek nou die beeldmateriaal kan nie oorgeskryf word en dit kan dus nie vernietig word nie.
Your Worship, then I know that the images cannot be written over and it cannot be destroyed.
Now, just for clarity purpose in that point, sir, when you put this flash disk, this flash stick,
Yes.
when you downloaded it for Colonel Broncos,
Yes.
was this the one that you saved on the hard drive, then downloaded to the flash stick, or did you directly save it to the flash stick?
Die stokkie wat meneer vir kolonel gedownload het, né? Het meneer dit gedoen op die harde skyf of op die stokkie
Ja,
of eers op die harde dryf en na oorgeskuif na die stokkie toe.
sekerlik. Dit is 'n bietjie tegnies.
Your Worship, is a bit technical,
And your answer is, sir?
die antwoord.
So ek het dit van die ek het eerste dit op die harde skyf gesave
Your Worship, I first saved it onto the hard drive
en daarna vat ek nou vir kolonel Bronkhorst en ek save dit van hierdie gedeelte af van nog steeds op die stelsel tot op die flash drive.
Your Worship, then I take that for Colonel Broncos, still on the system. I then put it onto
The flash drive.
onto the flash drive.
Did Colonel Broncos explain to you what was the purpose of him requesting the video footage?
Het de kolonel verduidelijk wat is die rede om vir my
Die edelagbare, hy het gesê dat dit vir interne gebruik sal wees.
Your Worship, he did say that it was for internal use.
Hy dit also die edelagbare het ook vir my verwittig dat die polisie self heel waarskynlik na my toe sal kom op 'n latere stadium.
Your Worship, he also informed me that the police will come to me at a later stage
En gevra dat ek dit moet veilig hou
and he then asked me to keep it safe
omdat die polisie hulle eie ondersoek sal hê.
because the police will lead their own investigation or have their own investigation.
Now, immediately after you downloaded this video footage for Colonel Broncos, what did you do with the material you saved on the hard drive?
Onmiddellik na meneer het nou afgevat van kolonel Broncos, wat het meneer gedoen met die wat meneer toegesyf het op die aardeskyn?
Die edelagbare, ek kan nie onthou of dit dieselfde dag was nie, maar om die edelagbare se vraag te antwoord, ek het toe vir myself 'n kopie van hierdie leer afgetrek
Your Worship, I can't remember if it was the same day, but to answer Your Worship, I then made a copy for myself from the file.
En ek het hierdie leer by myself gehou, af van die werksperseel af.
And I kept the file with me, away from the workplace, or the work premises, Your Worship. I kept it away from the work premises.
Now, sir, for clarification purposes, you indicated to this court that thereafter you downloaded this file that was saved on the hard drive for yourself.
Meneer sê dat meneer het toe ook weer afgeleid het en vir meneer gehou het op 'n les.
Dis korrek, eerlagbare.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Now, just to get clarification, sir, this particular video footage that you downloaded on the hard drive,
Yes.
was it the full video footage that transpired for the entire day, or was it a specific portion of the video footage?
Die wat meneer nou afgeleid het, nee. Was dit wat die hele dag daar gebeur het of was dit net 'n spesifieke porsie wat
O, nee,
Wat footage?
dit was net 'n spesifieke porsie gewees.
It was just a specific portion, Your Worship.
Can you inform this court what specific portion that you managed to download, sir?
Kan meneer ook sê wat 'n spesifieke porsie was?
Sekerlik. So die spesifieke porsie het basies net die insident wat by die hek gebeur het.
The specific portion, Your Worship, is basically just the incident that happened at the gate.
And I would like to add a little bit before and a little bit after.
Your Worship, I like to add a little bit before and a little bit after. Your
Sir,
Worship,
can you just please, you have asked for the services of the interpreter. Can you please, for purposes of record, allow the interpreter to interpret, and when you answer, please answer in Afrikaans. You cannot have different languages.
meneer, wanneer ons neem op, nee, as ons opneem, as meneer Engels en Afrikaans gaan antwoord door Engels en Afrikaans, dan gaan die rekord hier mekaar is. As daar enige transkripties gaan benodig word. So meneer gaan met die Afrikaans op. As meneer vryvoelig in Engels word, dan sê meneer dan kan hier voorgaan in Engels. Dat sal weer een taal.
Askies me soos interpreter.
Ja.
Kom ons hou by die reëling met die vertaling en
Right.
verkies dit so.
Your Worship, I would stick to Afrikaans.
Now,
stick
this
to
put-
interpretation.
This particular aspect from the hard drive you downloaded, is that what you downloaded? You said what your answer was. Why did you do it?
Maar hoekom het meneer dit gedoen, die wat meneer nou vir uself afgelei?
Omdat die beeldmateriaal omtrent oor 10 dae weer oorskryf, het ek dit eenkant gedownload sodat dit nie weggeraak nie.
Usually because the images after 10 days is written over, so I then did it so that it can't get lost.
So now, sir, did the South African police thereafter contact you?
Die Suid-Afrikaanse polisie na dit vir meneer gekontak.
Ja, eerlagbare.
Yes, Your Worship.
And can you recall who was the person who contacted you?
Maar meneer, onthou wie die persoon was wie u gekontak het?
Ja, dit was
Yes, Your Worship.
kolonel Sianego.
It was Colonel Sianego.
And what did Colonel Sianego request from you?
Wat het Kolonel Sianego van u gesê?
Hy het basies gevra vir die beeldmateriaal van die insident.
Your Worship, he just asked for the images of the incident.
So when this request came in, did you download the video again?
Toe vra vir dit, het meneer dit weer gedownload. Afgespeel.
So 100%. So nadat dit nou die begrafnis is nou verby, né? So intussen het ek nou gegaan en ek het van hierdie harde skyf wat jy nou eenkant syf dat dit nie verlore gaan nie, het ek toe nou voordat die kolonel my gekontak het ek hierdie beeldmateriaal gevat en ek het dit gesyf op 'n stokkie.
Your Worship, just after the funeral, before the colonel would contact me and ask for those images, as I had saved it on a hard drive, I then took it, I then downloaded it on a stick.
Ek het hierdie stick na my huis toe geneem.
I took this stick and I took it to my house.
Ek het vir die kolonel 'n CD geskryf
I then I wrote a CD for the colonel,
en ons het dit aan die polisie oorhandig.
and we then handed it over to the police.
Okay, now sir, I just want to get clarity on certain portions of your testimony now. You indicated to this court that you downloaded this particular video footage from the hard drive to a flash disk. Is that correct?
Meneer het gesê dat meneer die beeldmateriaal was afgeleid van die footage na hij van dat af na
Flash disk.
flash disk, ja.
Dit is korrek.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Now, when you testified earlier into the process that you dealt with when you were Colonel Bronkhorst, you indicated that you viewed the video footage, and then from there, Colonel, if I understand correctly, and if I'm wrong, please rectify me, that Colonel Bronkhorst asked you for video footage before and after the incident.
Meneer sê toe kolonel Bronkhorst kom met meneer om ons nog aan kyk na die beeldmateriaal. Julle het toe gekyk en toe het hy toe gesê en vir meneer gevra, kan meneer nog voor die tyd en na die tyd weer?
Die interpretasie van u edelagbare is korrek.
Yes, Your Worship, that is correct.
So, for record purposes, at that particular time, Colonel Bronkhorst was with you when you were busy downloading this particular video footage.
Kolonel Bronkhorst was saam met meneer toe dat meneer het nou download het.
Edelagbare,
Die beeldmateriaal.
dit is nie korrek nie.
That is not correct, Your Worship.
Die kolonel Bronkhorst was wel op die dag van die begrafplaas met begrafnis teenwoordig gewees.
Colonel Bronkhorst was present on the day of the funeral.
Maar onthou toe daar vir die polisie, toe ek vir die polisie 'n CD geskryf het, toe was kolonel Bronkhorst nie
Okay.
by my gewees nie.
Your Worship, when I wrote a CD for the police, Colonel Bronkhorst was not with me.
So the point I'm trying to make is that the process involved when you downloaded the video footage for Colonel Bronkhorst, where he guided you what to put in before and after, yes or no?
Was dat proses wat kolonel Bronkhorst meneer gesê wat meneer voor en agter ook met byvoeg? Ja of nie?
Ja,
Yes.
Now, when Colonel Sianeko requested you for the video footage, did you go through that same process, or did you just download the entire video from the hard drive to your flash disk and then cut it on a CD?
Toe kolonel sy nou gevra of nog vir die beeldmateriaal,
ja.
het meneer weer die hele proses gedoen of het meneer het van die hard drive na u?
Sorry, edelagbare, that was stated incorrectly. Dis nie reg nie.
That is not correct, Your Worship.
Please rectify.
Die eerste helfte van die edelagbare se stelling is wel korrek.
Your first half is correct, Your Worship.
Daar is op die harde skyf 'n leer.
Your Worship, there is a file on the hard drive.
Kolonel Sianego, ek besluit nou self waar gaan ek die beginpunt afsny en die eindpunt afsny.
Your Worship, for Colonel Sianaga, I decide where the starting point I'm going to cut and the end point that I'm going to cut.
En ek vat daai
Put onto the CD.
ja, net om u te korrek nie op die CD nie. Op
Your Worship, I just want to correct note on the CD.
sit ons dit op die flash drive
We then download it onto the flash drive
en ek vat dit na my huis toe.
and then take it to my house.
Can you explain to this court, sir, now for the police, you've decided what to cut, okay? How did that come about?
Meneer, verduidelik dit aan nou, want meneer het nou besluit vir die polisie wat gaan meneer sny.
Dis
Hoe het
goed.
dit gekom?
Dis korrek, edelagbare.
That is correct.
So, dis basies die begin van die insident en dan kyk ek die insident en toe besluit ek sny hom daar af.
Your Worship, it is basically the beginning of the incident, and I looked at the incident and I then decided I'm going to cut it off here.
And is that what you now cut and put on a flash disk and then put in a CD to give it to Colonel Sianeko?
Was dit wat nou meneer nou afgeleid aan die flash drive en nou op die CD en kolonel sê nogal gegee.
Dit is korrek,
That is
edelagbare.
correct, Your Worship.
Now, sir, in this court, there was an issue raised about a long video and a short video.
Dit sê die aantal aan die hoof, né? Dit was 'n preek oor die lang video en kort enetjie.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, listening to your testimony before this court today, okay, I just want to get clarity that the video that Colonel Bronkhorst, that you downloaded with Colonel Bronkhorst, was that a longer video than the one that you cut, or was it a shorter video than the one you cut?
Die ene wat Kolonel Broncos het, was die ene wat lang was, die lang video, of was die ene wat neergesny het, of die kort ene wat neergesny het?
Eeral agbare, dit was die ene Colonel Bronkhorst is langer.
Colonel Broncos one is the longer video.
Now, sir, this for record purpose again. The first person that you gave the video to is Colonel Broncos, is that correct?
Die eerste persoon vir wie meneer die video gegee het is Kolonel Broncos, correct?
Dis korrek, Eeral
That
agbare.
is correct, Your Worship.
Then the so-called shorter video is the one that you gave to Colonel Sianeko.
En die korter video is een wat vir meneer vir Kolonel Senago gegee het.
Dis reg, dis korrek.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Now, besides Colonel Sianeko, did you ever receive any further requests for the video footage from the SAPS?
Behalwe Kolonel Senago, het meneer enige ander vraag gevra dat meneer 'n video footage kry van die polisie af?
Eeral agbare, ja, daar was.
Yes, there was, Your Worship.
And who requested it, sir?
Wie aan navraag doen vir?
Hierdie Eeral agbare, dit was 'n kolonel met die naam van Kolonel Nama gewees.
Nama.
Korrek.
Your Worship, it was also a colonel. His name was Colonel Nama.
Now, sir, did Colonel Nama give you an explanation as to why he was looking for the video footage?
Het Kolonel Nama verduidelijking gegee hoekom hy die video beeldmateriaal soek?
Yes, ja, Eeral agbare het vir my 'n rede gegee.
Yes, Your Worship, he did. Give me a reason.
And what was his explanation, sir?
Wat was die verduidelijking?
Eeral agbare, sy verduideliking was dat die dossier weggeraak het
Your Worship, his explanation was that the docket got lost
met die aanvanklike ondersoek en dat
when it
hulle
was the initial investigation.
en daarom het hulle dit weer van my af aangevra.
That is the reason why they inquired and wanted again from me.
Now, sir, before this trial started, were you ever contacted by either the investigating officer or anyone from the prosecuting authority requesting if there was any further video footage?
Meneer, voor die verhoor begin het nie, was meneer gekontak deur enige persoon van 'n ondersoek beampte of van die aanklaer onderdeling.
As
Dat hulle gevra het vir 'n verdere video beeldmateriaal.
As u sê aanklaer, ja. Daar was 'n persoon van hierdie hof, Smit, ek dink, ek glo haar naam was Anne-Marie Smit.
Your Worship, if you say the prosecuting authority, I think there was. Her name is Anna Marie Smith. She is from this court.
Okay, now, sir, for record purposes, were you asked whether there was any further video footage?
Was meneer gevra of enige verdere beeldmateriaal was?
Eeral agbare, hulle het vir my gevra of daar enige ander beeldmateriaal was.
Yes, I was asked, Your Worship.
And can you recall what was your response thereto?
Kan meneer onthou wat die antwoord daar was?
Ek het vir hulle gesê alles wat ek het ek vir die polisie gegee.
I told them that everything that I had, I gave it to the police.
So, sir, let me understand this correctly. That the recordings you had is what you supplied to the police.
Die beeldmateriaal wat meneer gehad het, is wat meneer vir die polisie gegee het.
Dis reg.
Correct.
Ja.
That is correct?
Now, your testimony before this court, sir, is that this particular video footage was downloaded onto a hard drive.
Die getuienis in die hof is dat hierdie beeldmateriaal afgelys na 'n harddiskskyf.
Dis korrek.
That is correct?
Is that hard drive or that video footage still available?
Hierdie beeldmateriaal, dit nog steeds kan ons nog steeds kry.
Die spesifieke harde skyf waar ons dit op daai dag gesave het, ekskuus my Engels, is nie meer beskikbaar nie. Ja.
Your Worship, the specific hard drive that we saved it on that day, it's not available anymore.
Do you know why, sir?
Weet meneer hoekom?
I'm no longer ek werk nie meer vir die maatskappy nie.
I don't work for the company anymore.
So are you able to tell this court, because you don't work there, are you able to confirm to this court whether it exists or does not exist?
Want meneer werk nie weer daar nie.
Waar?
Meneer Hof sê, of asof is daar nie.
So die vraag met die beeldmateriaal ook, ek kan bevestig dat daai nie meer op die harde skyf bestaan nie.
Your Worship, the question about the video footage on the hard drive, I can tell the court that that doesn't exist anymore.
Can you inform this court as to why you say it does not exist anymore?
Hoekom kan die meneer of inligting sê, hoekom sê meneer dit is nie weer beskikbaar nie?
Seker, dit is omdat dit 'n sensitiewe beeldmateriaal is, het ek dit self verwyder.
Your Worship, because it was sensitive material, I personally removed it.
Sodat ek weet niemand anders wel op die kan gaan en dit hulle self kan aftrek nie.
So that I know that nobody else can go in and download it, Your Worship.
Now, sir, one last question. This particular information you downloaded from the hard drive and put it in the flash disk,
Yes.
right? And you managed to put it down onto your own computer to cut it onto a CD,
Yes.
right? Are you able to edit anything on your computer at home?
Aangezien meneer nou die beeldmateriaal van die hard drive af, of die flash drive oorgeleid het,
Ja.
en oorgeleid het na meneer se persoonlijke rekenaar.
Okay.
Kan meneer enige iets weglaat van daar af? Of?
Nee, ek kan.
No, I can't, Your Worship.
Thank you, Worship. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baba. Mr. Otis, you may proceed with cross-examination.
Thank you, Worship. Your Worship, may I take my mask off so that I'm heard and far away from everybody else?
It is in order with the court will direct. Just see to it, Ms. Hart, that you just move.
Thank you, Worship.
Thank you.
Right. Mr. Klingbeil, as I understand your testimony, there are specific incidents that you refer to. Do you agree with me?
Die advocaat sê dat sy die getuienis mooi verstaan, dat spesifieke voorval wat meneer van praat hier.
Dit is korrek.
That is correct.
The first one was obviously the funeral. You remember that clearly, is that correct?
Die eerste was die begrafenis, meneer onthou dat duidelik.
Dit is korrek. Eerder agbare kan ek ook net versoek dat ek my neus oopmaak is.
Your Worship, that is correct. Can I just remove my mask?
So
and
the
just- I will
court,
just move
you are
on.
in close proximity to other people then as well. The court will allow you to at least take a breath if you do need so, but please leave the mask over the nose
Okay, Worship.
if
Got
possible.
it.
But if
Thank
you
you.
need more air, you may just remove the mask to take in more air.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the most important was the funeral on the 14th of April 2018. You specifically remember that as the
Meneer-
first incident, is that
Meneer
correct?
Belange was die begrafenis die 14de April 2018. Meneer onthou dat duidelik.
Ek onthou dit. Ja.
Yes, I remember that.
The second incident that was important to you was the approach by Colonel Bronkhorst asking you whether there was, in fact, video footage. Would you agree with me?
Die tweede voorval toe kolonel Bronkes na meneer toe gekom het en kom vra dis enige beeldmateriaal.
Ek kan nie noodwendig saamstem nie. Ek het baie ander verpligtinge op die dag gehad. Ek sal nie dit noem as die mees belangrik nie.
Your Worship,
Advokaat, Mr. Ouders.
I won't say that it was the most important because on that day I had other duties to do.
And I'm not talking about your incidents of the day, I'm talking about the incidents highlighted in your testimony. In your testimony, first you spoke of the funeral. Secondly, you spoke of Colonel Bronkhorst approaching you. Would you agree with that so far?
Die advokaat praat dat meneer vandag hier nou getuig het. Meneer is van die begrafenis gegaan.
Okay.
Goed, meneer gepraat toe kolonel Bronkes van meneer genader het.
Oor
Is dit so?
dit is so, ja.
It is so, Your Worship.
The third is when Colonel Broncos came to you later that day, sat with you, and you made him a copy and yourself a copy of the video footage. Would you agree with me?
En die derde is toe kolonel Broncos weer teruggekom het aan meneer toe en toe het meneer 'n afskrif gesê vir hom en vir meneer.
Meneer Houders, dat ek u net korrek, dit was om die afdruk vir die kolonel te gee.
Your Worship, just hold it. It was to give him the copy, Your Worship.
Yes. So we got the first incident is the funeral. Second, Broncos approaches you. Third, you make him a copy. Do you agree with me?
Die eerste was die begrafenis, die tweede toe kolonel Broncos meneer genader het en die derde toe meneer om 'n afskrif gegee het.
Dit is korrek.
That is correct.
And in that second, I beg your pardon, in the second meeting that you had with Mr. Bronkhorst, Colonel Bronkhorst, he told you in all probability the SAPS are going to request a copy. Is that correct?
En die tweede, die vergadering wat meneer gehad het met meneer kolonel, ek het vir jou gesê dat die Suid-Afrikaanse polisie ook 'n afskrif gaan
Dit is korrek, so meneer Houders.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Which then led to what I would refer to as the fourth incident, which is where Colonel Sianejo came to you to get a copy of the disc. Is that correct?
Die vierde voorval is toe kolonel Sianaga gekom het om 'n afskrif te kry.
I would also record it as such that it is correct, Mr. Houders, and that the latter, dat die laaste incident na die begrafenis gebeur het, né?
The last incident took place after the funeral. That's what I want to mention.
Can you give the court an estimate of how long after the 14th of April Colonel Sianejo came to you for this footage?
Kan meneer, estimeer as hoe lank na die begrafenis dat kolonel Sianaga na meneer toe gekom het vir afskrif?
Ek kan nie presies onthou nie. Ek sal sê dit was 'n paar weke gewees.
I can't exactly remember, Your Worship, but I would say it was a few weeks.
If it was a few weeks later, you must have felt very relieved.
We're going to come out of that court proceeding to take you to the buy local.
Taped over and deleted by that stage. If you say a few weeks, 2 weeks being 14 days, it was more than 10 days thereafter. Do you agree with me?
Meneer, die advocaat sê dat meneer baie verlig was dat meneer vir u self 'n afskrif gemaak het. Want aangezien meneer getuig het en gesê dat na 10 dae dan skryf die ander deel materiaal oor die wat daar is.
Dis nie noodwendig
Want onderbreek aan wanneer sê hy 'n paar weke na die begrafenis gekom.
Maar dis korrek, maar die 10 dae is nou nie noodwendig 'n tydlyn laat dit na 10 dae gebeur het nie, verstaan?
Your Worship, it's correct, but the 10 days time frame is not that it exactly happens in those 10 days.
My getuienis is wel dat ek 10 dae dat dit 10 dae vat om oor te skryf.
Your Worship, my testimony is well that it takes 10 days to be written over.
Maar ek het so gou as moontlik dit net van die CCTV afgehaal.
But I did it as quickly as possible, Your Worship. I downloaded from CCTV footage video.
So the 10 days, what you're telling the court is an estimate. It's not a precise figure. Is that what you're clarifying here?
Nou sê meneer dat 10 dae nie die presiese tyd is nie, is net
Die 10 dae is presies.
the 10 days is precise.
Maar dis 'n ander issue wanneer kolonel Sianejo na my toe gekom het.
10 days is precise, but it's another issue when Colonel Sianaga came to me. Colonel Sianaga came to me.
So when did he come to you? Within those 10 days or after those 10 days?
Wanneer het hy na meneer toe gekom? Binne die 10 dae of na die 10 dae?
I cannot remember.
Cannot remember.
But you specifically remember meeting him, which is what I refer to as the fourth incident in relation to the video.
Maar meneer onthou dit dat meneer hom ontmoet het. Dit is waarom die advokaat sê dat hy dit noem as die vierde voorval in die getuienis.
Die vierde voorval dat ek hom geontmoet het is nie daar's nie 'n korrelasie nie.
Your Worship, the fourth incident that you mentioned, there's no correlation there.
What then happened is, I understand your testimony is sometime later you approached by Colonel, you call him Nama, who then requested the video footage because the docket was missing. Is that correct?
Meneer sê later het kolonel Nama meneer genader en gesê dat die dossier voorganger.
Volgens Nama was die dossier weg gewees.
According to Nama, the docket was missing.
And were you able to give Colonel Nama your version or any version of this video?
Kon meneer vir kolonel Nama enige van die afskrifte gee van die video?
Ja, ek onthou daar was nou net een weergawe in my besit en ja, ek
Yes, Your Worship, I remember that I only had one version in my possession,
And you gave it to him.
en toe gee meneer hom.
ek het so gemaak, Mr. Ouders.
Yes, Your Worship, I
So,
did so.
so in other words, in relation to this case, you were approached by 3 different individuals, Bronkhorst, Sienago and Nama, and you gave each and every one of them a version or a copy of the video. Is that correct?
Daar was 3 mense wat vir meneer genader het. Dis die eerste ene, Sienago en Nama, en meneer het elke ene van hulle 'n afskrif gegee van die.
Dis korrek.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Now, can you tell the court, when was that meeting with Colonel Nama, the last person?
Kan meneer nou wanneer die vergadering was met kolonel Nama?
No, I cannot remember. Ek kan nie onthou nie.
I can't remember.
Were you still working at Memorial Park at that stage?
Het meneer nog steeds daar gewerkt bij die begrafenis?
Ek het ja, ek het.
Yes, I was still working there.
When did you leave Memorial Park?
Wanneer het meneer Memorial Park verlaat?
Dit was nou op die 1 April 2020.
On the 1st of April 2020.
Now, over and above these meetings with the police officers that you've highlighted, these 3 individuals, you also deposed 2 statements that were in the docket. Do you agree with me?
Behalve die vergadering dat meneer gehad het met al die persone wat meneer nou genoem het, meneer het verklaring gemaak wat in die dossier was.
Dis korrek?
That is correct.
And when you deposed to those statements, you were asked whether they had accurately been recorded as per your information that you'd given the police officer. Is that correct?
Toen meneer die verklaring zou doen, was het gevraagd, was het correct? Een onluchting wat
Ja, dit was gevra.
it was asked, Your Worship, yes.
Nobody pressurized you into saying anything or leaving anything out. Do you agree with me?
Niemand het meneer onder druk gezet dat meneer enige iets met bijvoegen, enige iets met uitlaat nie.
Nee, niemand het.
Nobody, no Your Worship, nobody.
They gave you every opportunity to put in as much material information as you wanted to. Do you agree with me?
Hulle het die geleentheid gegee om as beeldmateriaal so veel as meneer kan om te sit.
Hulle het, ek het dit kort gehou.
I kept it short,
Of your own choice, is that correct?
as meneer se eie keuse.
Ja, ek is
But before you took the oath, in all 3 of your statements, they were read back to you, and you're given the opportunity to correct anything that was incorrect in the statements. Do you agree with me?
Voor meneer die eet geneem het, né, in al 3 verklarings, was die verklarings teruggelees aan meneer, en meneer was die geleentheid gegee om enige iets wat nie reg was in die verklaring te korrekteer. Was dit korrek so?
ek kan nie onthou dat al 3 aan my teruggelees is nie.
I can't remember, Your Worship, that all 3 was read back to me.
I will show it to you, sir.
I
It's
didn't
in the statements that it was read back to you and you're given an opportunity.
die advocaat sê dit is aan die verklaring dat dit teruggelees was en er was 'n geleentheid gegee.
Okay, ek kan nie dit spesifiek onthou nie, maar
I can't remember that specifically, Your Worship.
Let's then begin with the first. Your Worship, I'm referring to A9 in the docket. I have copies. I asked that my learned friend provide the original to the witness. I'll replace it with a copy and a copy for Your Worship to follow the testimony.
Dis the original.
So, na die eerste verklaring.
Inspector?
One page, one's for you. Your Worship, the originals to Your Worship, if Your Worship wishes.
No, the original to the witness.
That's
copy.
a copy, Your Worship.
To the witness.
Thank you, Your Worship. Now, sir, I've handed to you a one-page
baie dankie.
Dis 'n een bladsy.
typewritten document which has your signature on it. Do you confirm that, sir?
Bevestig meneer dat meneer se handtekening daar is.
Ja,
Yes, I do confirm that my signature is on it.
It also has your personal details under the heading affidavit to be completed in the presence of a commissioner of oaths.
En dit meneer se persoonlike besonderhede en dat dit 'n verklaring is wat ondergeneem is.
Ja, ek
Yes.
het net 'n comment meneer Houders.
Yeah?
Your Worship, I have a comment.
Ek kyk na die datum van 20 Februarie 2019.
I look at the date of the 20th of February 2019.
Ek glo dat hierdie nie die oudste verklaring is nie.
I don't think that this is the oldest statement.
As u wil hê ek moet dit bevestig, ek het my eie rekord ook wat ek
If you
dit
want me
kan.
to confirm it, Your Worship, I have my own record also.
Please.
OK. Inderdaad is hierdie die eerste. Ek sien nou dat die datum daar die eerste een is.
Your Worship, I now see that the date is the first one, indeed the first one.
So for record purposes, because even though there's a video, the people that read the transcript won't know this. You have a bag with you, you have copies of your statements, and you've now confirmed that this is your oldest and first statement you made in relation to this matter.
Dit is
that correct?
meneer se eerste verklaring wat meneer gemaak het in verband met hierdie saak.
Ek is nie heeltemal seker nie, meneer Houders, want 2019 is 2 jaar na die insident
Your
gewees.
Worship, I'm not quite sure, but 2019 is 2 years after the incident.
Ek weet dat daar was mos ook 'n dossier wat weggeraak het intussen, maar vir die doel van hierdie saak sal ek aanvaar dat hierdie die oudste een is wat almal op rekord het.
Your Worship, remember there was also a docket that went missing, but for everybody's purpose here, I'll accept that this one is the latest one, that everybody has
Of,
report.
of die eerste ene.
Or the first one that everybody has.
Dot.
The first one that everybody has report.
Mr. Klingbeil, you seem very cautious and want to add facts, but you've made a material mistake. You know that the incident that took place on the 14th of April 2018, is that correct?
Meneer weet dat die voorval die 14de April 2018 plaasgevind het. Correct?
Korrek?
Correct?
This statement is dated the 20th of February 2019, which is less than 1 year later. It's not 2 years later, sir.
Die verklaring is gedateer 20ste Februarie 2019.
Okay.
Dis 'n jaar later, nie 2
And,
jaar.
Ek verstaan u punt.
I understand your point.
Now, on our version of the docket, and you've confirmed, this is the oldest statement that you made. How many statements did you in fact make in relation to this
Hoeveel
matter, sir?
verklaringe het meneer gemaak in verband met hierdie geleentheid?
Daar was Sianego gewees,
Dit was Sianego,
toe was daar Nama gewees
Nama,
en daar was 'n ander vrou gewees.
and there was another lady.
So ek het 3 op my rekord.
I have 3 on my record.
Perfect. Now we'll work out, because you'll see that this one here was taken by a person whose signature
Oh.
looks like LaRue.
Die handtekening lyk as dit 'n persoon is, Leroux.
O ja, dis
Wat
korrek.
aangeneem het.
Dis korrek.
Constable.
That's correct.
So die een van Sianego is nie op ons rekord nie.
The one of Sianego is not on our record.
Okay, so this is the one to Constable LaRue. Do you agree with me?
Die is hier not meer by Constable Leroux gedoen.
Ek
Yes.
stem saam.
And we've established it was made less than 1 year after the incident, being 20 February 2019.
En was 'n jaar na die voorval gebeur het.
Ja.
Yes.
And here you say, you identify yourself as Dion Klingbeil, identity number, you give it residing at, working address, telephone numbers, and then you say, I declare under oath in English or confirm in English. Do you agree with me so far, sir?
Stem meneer saam met daar geskryf is?
Ja, ek
Yes.
And then it reads, it's a very short statement. I was at work 14 April 2018, situated at Fourways Memorial Park, 1 Memorial Road, Marula Dal, 2018, where we had a funeral.
Dit is
Confirm
wat
so
in die
far,
eerste
sir?
paragraaf is. Stem meneer saam met hy.
Ek stem saam.
I do agree.
Goes further, it says we had an incident at the main gate on the day which was caught on our CCTV camera.
Dat verder het
Confirm.
Correct.
sodat meneer 'n voorval gehad het.
We have stored this to a portable device to ensure this does not get lost. Confirm?
Bevestig meneer hy?
Bevestig.
Yes, I do confirm.
As the CCTV system always overwrite over the oldest data, it's better to keep this stored separately. You confirm that, sir?
Dis
Bevestig dat wat daar staan.
ja.
Yes, I do confirm.
And then you say, a few weeks later, I was approached by Douglasdale Police Station for a copy of the footage.
Dit is korrek.
Bevestig meneer hy weer? Yes, I do confirm.
I cooperated and gave footage of the incident of 14 April to them.
Ja.
Yes.
Then says, I'm familiar with and understand the contents of this declaration, in other words, it was read to you. I have no objection, stroke have objection to taking the prescribed oath. I consider the prescribed oath as binding to my conscience. Place, Fourways, date 20/2/2009, time 1000 hours, your signature, and then you say, beneath your signature, I certify that the above statement, you don't say, I beg your pardon. The Commissioner says, I certify that the above statement was taken from me and that the deponent has acknowledged that he knows and understands the contents of the statement. The statement was sworn to before me and the deponent's signature print was placed thereon in my presence at Fourways on 2019-02-20 at 1000 hours, a signature by the Commissioner of Oaths, Constable LaRue from 41 Guy Gibson Street, Ayrton. Do you agree with that?
Stem meneer saam dat hy is aan die einde van hy verklaring is waar die meneer die eed neem en die handtekening geplaas het. En die konstabel sê dat
Ja, van Kloro, ja.
bevestig dat die inligting korrek is.
Korrek.
Yes,
Nee.
that's correct.
Now, in the statement, you talk of we.
In die
We had an
verklaring,
incident, we have stored.
Yes.
Who's the we that you refer
in die
to? sir?
verklaring noem meneer ons. Wie is die ons wat meneer van praat?
I was worked at 14 April. We had an incident. Wel, ek en my span, ek het mos nou gewerk vir die begrafplaas.
Your worship, it's me and my team. I was working for the cemetery.
But when you say we have stored this to a portable device, it was only you, there was no team member assisting you.
Maar toe, daar wat meneer dan noem, ons het het gestoor. Dit was net meneer, dit was nie ons nie. Stem jy saam?
Wat ons gou gesien hierso is kan jy asseblief meer spesifiek
Third
wees?
line, sir, you say we have stored this to a portable
Yeah.
device.
We have stored this to ensure. Well, okay. Wel, dis altyd ek praat altyd as ek vir iemand werk in ons.
Your worship, I always, when I work for somebody, speak about us.
Want ja, dis my antwoord.
That's my answer.
But you'll see in 3 other occasions you refer to yourself as I. Line 1, I was at work.
Wie is die
Third
rede
last
meneer sê
line, a
meneer
few
was
weeks
meneer?
later, I was approached. Ultimate last line, I cooperated and gave footage.
Ja,
Dat is 3 geleenthede daar aan die verklaring wat meneer net van u self noem. Ek.
ja.
Dis nie ons nie, dis net ek.
Dis opvallend vir my ook.
Yes, I can also say, your worship.
But that's not the crux of the question, sir. The crux of my question is here, you make no mention of your meeting with Colonel Bronkhorst.
Advokaat sê hier in die verklaring, noem nie meneer, noem niks nie van die vergadering wat meneer met kolonel Bronkhorst gehad het nie. In die verklaring.
Why did you leave him out?
Hoekom het meneer hom uitgelaat?
Dit was die eerste keer wat ek 'n verklaring met so 'n insident afgelê het.
Your worship, it was the first time that I proposed of an statement
En
after such an incident.
dis my antwoord.
That's my answer.
But you have to agree with me, sir, and I'm going to argue that if one reads this statement, you had not at that stage told the truth. When you said a few weeks later I was approached by Douglasdale Police Station for a copy of the footage, because you never explained anything of the testimony that you gave to this court about being approached immediately on the day, subsequently on the day, by Colonel Bronkhorst. Do you agree with me?
Ek wil sê stem meneer saam wat hier staan in die verklaring. En dit is nie waarheid nie.
My antwoord, dit
En
was
as ek na die
die
getuienis in die hof neem.
die fokus op die verklaring was laat dit wel op CCTV. Ek het nie ja, die fokus was dat dit op CCTV was.
The focus was that it was on CCTV.
Two important aspects. So firstly, if one reads the statement, one gets the impression that there was only one copy ever made of the video. Do you agree with me?
As 'n meneer as ons die verklaring lees, dan kry ons die indruk dat daar net een afskrif gemaak was van die beeldmateriaal.
Okay,
Verstaan meneer?
die indruk is verkeerd.
Then the impression is wrong. Your Worship.
No, you created the wrong impression then because
And
it's
it
you who
meneer-
gave that information.
Dan het meneer die verkeerde indruk.
So,
Want meneer het die inligting gegee.
wel, ek het dit nie opsetlik gedoen nie.
Worship, I didn't do it purposely.
Was the meeting with Colonel Bronkhorst important to you?
Was die vergadering met kolonel Bronkhorst belangrijk voor meneer?
Onthou dat ja, dit was belangrik geweest vir my.
Yes, it was important.
And I know that the Colonel on your version, because you haven't heard from him yet, told you this is for internal purposes only. The police are going to officially come to you for a video for external official purposes at a later stage. Is that correct?
Dat die kolonel van meneer gesê dat die is vir tunnel doeleindes en dat die polisie na meneer toe gaan kom.
Dis korrek.
So was this something that was to be secret between the two of you? An unofficial copy being made before the official copy? Or what was your impression, sir?
Was dit iets wat geheim moes gewees het tussen meneer en kolonel? Dat hy afskrif moet gekry het?
Nee, is nie 'n geheim nie.
It wasn't a secret.
Dit is wel sensitief van aard.
But it is well sensitive of nature.
And it's a matter of fact that you left every possible mention of those meetings out on the 20th of February 2019 when you deposed to this statement. Do you agree with me?
En dat meneer die vergadering wat meneer saam met hom gehad het, uitgelaat het toe meneer die verklaring gemaak op die 20ste Februarie.
Ek het die verklaring so kort as moontlik gehou.
Your Worship, I kept the statement as short as possible.
Worship, I ask with respect that this be accepted, Your Worship. There will be three statements from this witness as G1. As an exhibit, I don't believe there can be any objection. I do believe that I have substantiated and proven it as an exhibit for this court.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts, on the state side.
State is no objection, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Die verklaring
Goed.
gaan omgaande posat as 'n bewyslik meneer en die
De-
aanklag sê dat hy geen beswaar het nie.
Inspector, the original file, the original statement, as well as the file.
Did anybody ever come to you and say to you, Mr. Klingbeil, you've made a mistake?
En dan enige een
You should have
persoon
mentioned giving a copy of the video also to Colonel Bronkhorst.
en dan enige persoon miskien na meneer gekom en gesê dat meneer 'n fout begaan het, dat meneer moes genoem het dat meneer vir kolonel Bronkhorst afskrif gegee het.
Nee.
No,
Never. It was just something that you left out because you wanted to keep your statement short and it was left at that, is what you're telling the court. Is that correct?
is dit iets wat meneer uitgelaat het van u wil die verklaring kort gehou het? Is dit wat meneer aan hof sê?
Yeah. Is it something that you left out to keep your statement short and nobody thought anything of it?
Is dit iets wat meneer uitgelaat het want u wil die verklaring kort gehou het en niemand het niks gesê oor dit nie?
Die rede hoekom ek dit uitgehou het is die crux is nie oor hoe die video footage wie dit almal het nie.
Your Worship, the reason why I left it out, the crux is not whoever has the video footage, Your Worship, or everybody that has the footage.
Korrek.
That's your motivation.
Is it what meneer
Dis
beweer?
dis korrek.
Antwoord. That's correct.
You were then approached to make another statement on the 2nd of May 2019. Do you remember that, sir?
Meneer was toe genader om 'n tweede verklaring te maak, die 2 Mei 2019, kan u onthou?
Ek weet van die van die verklaring, ja.
Yes, I know about the
For
statement.
record purposes, A11 in the docket, I have copies for my learned friend and the witness, and the original will be handed to your worship.
Just for record purpose, Mr. Bawa, the stewardess have indicated that there will be 3 statements. Is there any objections with regards to the statements?
No, Your Worship, if for ease of record, can I just send in the other one time?
Yes.
No, one
then.
at a time.
One that.
Just a statement. Inspector?
Again, you'll see it's a very short statement, and I assume, and please correct me if my assumption is incorrect, you have a copy of this one in your records as well, is that
So,
correct?
voor verklaring, meneer ook afschrift in die zak.
Korrek. Ja.
That is correct, yes?
You'll see the same heading, affidavit, and the same personal details of you. And then under the declaration in English or confirmation in English, you state as follows. That I'm writing another statement as requested by Sergeant Mukukuti Mofoke. I declare that as I was working on the day of 14th April 2018, I was in charge and had access to the CCTV system. I have given out the footage on the day of 14 April 2018 to Colonel Bronkhorst. I've also given a copy of the footage to Colonel Sianejo. You agree with that?
Stem meneer saam met wat daar geskryf is?
Ek stem saam.
You said you agree?
So I want to put you, so the purpose of the second statement was to correct your first statement by saying, didn't only give a copy of the footage to Colonel Sianejo, I also gave a copy on the 14th of April 2018 to Colonel Bronkhorst. Do you agree with me?
Stem meneer saam met die rede vir die tweede verklaring was, is dat meneer die eerste ene vir gekorrek het, om te sê dat meneer nie net vir kolonel Sianejo afskrif gegee het nie, dat meneer vir kolonel Bronkhorst ook 'n afskrif gegee het op die 14de April 2018. Stem meneer saam?
Kyk, hulle het my gevra vir 'n tweede keer. Die polisie het my kom vra vir 'n verklaring.
Your Worship, police came to ask me for a second statement.
So ek het nie na die polisie toe gegaan nie. Die polisie het na my toe gekom.
I didn't go to the police came to me.
That's not the issue, sir. I don't mind where you did it or who went to who. The point of the issue here, the crux, is that you were approached to rectify what you'd stated in your first statement, because in fact you didn't just give a copy of the video footage to Colonel Sianejo, you'd also given it to Colonel Bronkhorst before that. You agree?
Ik kan zeggen, geen om waar dat gedoen was of niet naar meneer toe gekomen het niet. Die kracht van die zaak is dat u met die eerste verklaring gecorrecteerd heeft. Dat meneer voor kolonel Bronkhorst ook afschrift gegeven heeft, niet net voor kolonel Sianejo.
Wel, soos wat my verklaring sê en soos in die lig, ja.
As it's stated in my statement, Your Worship, yes. And
Then for record purposes, you'll confirm, it says, as in the other one, I'm familiar with and understand the contents of this declaration. I have no objection, have objection to taking the prescribed oath. I consider the prescribed oath as binding to my conscience. Place 4 ways, date 2 May 2019, time 12:44, and there's your signature, is that correct?
stem meneer saam dat meneer hier iets genoem het en dat u teken het en die datum is daar.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
And then we have a commissioner of oaths that seems to be a Sergeant Moffolong. If I'm correct on it, would you confirm that, sir?
Stem meneer saam dat
Then
die
took your oath.
commissaris sergeant Moffolong was.
Ja, ek stem saam met
I do agree.
You should ask that that be accepted as G2. You then, as we've already stated, sir, compiled or signed, I won't say compiled because I don't know whose handwriting it is, signed a third statement. Would you confirm that, sir?
Bevestig meneer dat meneer 'n derde verklaring gemaak het.
ja, ek bevestig dit.
Yes, I do confirm.
And the copy.
Is this the original?
Original, Your Worship.
Original? Copy?
What is?
Nee, baie
Want
dankie.
to- This one's a handwritten statement that you have in your records as well. Do you
Hierdie
confirm
verklaring
that?
is 'n handgeskrewe verklaring. Dit is so.
Ja, dis nie my handskrif nie.
But it's not my handwriting.
I suspected that. I think it's a police officer's handwriting.
Polisie is aan dis 'n
Ek,
handtekening.
dit is korrek, meneer Oudis.
That is correct.
Right, so you'll see it's headed with the Douglasdale CAS 380/04/2018. I, Dion Klingbeil, state under oath in English that 1, I'm an adult male, your identity number, your address, and your working address at Memorial Park. Is that correct?
Die eerste paragraaf meneer se persoonlike besonderhede. Is it correct?
Dit is korrek.
And here, notably, so you identify yourself as a park manager. Is that correct? In paragraph?
Meneer identifiseer myself as 'n bestuurder daar by die
Park manager.
parkbestuurder.
Dit is korek.
That is correct?
Not operations, not security, not systems, park manager. Do you agree?
Die sê operasies bestuurder nie, is 'n parkbestuurder.
Ja, ons het dit verander.
Yes, we have changed it.
Right. Paragraph 2. On the day of the funeral of Ma'am Winnie Madikizela Mandela, 2018/04/14, I confirm that the camera system at the cemetery was installed in 2016. There are functional 24/7 magnets installed to capture vehicles entering and exiting the cemetery park at the entrance. Is that
Bevestig meneer
correct?
aan.
Ek kan dit bevestig.
I confirm the paragraaf.
Now, how many cameras were installed? Sir?
Hoeveel kameras was geïnstalleer meneer?
So, okay, by die ingang was daar 2 gewees.
At the entrance to 2,
By die admin blok was daar 'n paar gewees
there were few at the admin block.
en by die kapel was daar 3 gewees.
At the chapel there were 3.
Were there any that would have captured the ceremony, the
Was er
burial
enige-
ceremony,
Was
the
er enige
memorial
kameras
ceremony?
wat die begrafnis
Die begrafnis by die graf self.
ja
Ek-
opgeneem het?
Ek dink die een by die kapel, kom ek sê nee.
Let me say no, your worship.
You seem to say you thought the one by the chapel and then you said no. Is that correct? You
Dus het
translated.
eerste gesê meneer dink die een by die toe sê meneer nee.
Dis korrek.
That is correct, your worship.
And are there no cameras inside the park? And we've got an aerial map of the park that would capture the vehicles that drove into the park and where they parked.
Is daar geen kamera binne in die park soos die voertuie inry en waar die voertuie parkeer? Is daar geen kamera nie?
Nee.
No, your worship.
So please tell us where the other cameras were. Please tell us where the other cameras were.
Waar was die ander kameras? Tel op.
Binne in die kapel, daar was 2 in die kapel, binne in die gebou, né?
Your worship, there were 2 inside the chapel, inside the building.
Daar was 'n derde ene wat buitentoe wys in die rigting van die graf.
There was a third one that shows to the outside, to the direction of the grave.
Maar daar's soveel mense. Jy sal nooit die begrafnis op daai kamera kon gesien het.
But there were too many people. You can't see the funeral on the camera.
Dan was daar binne in die administratiewe blok
And they were inside of the administration block.
mense wat op die gang van op die buite loop
There were people that were walking on the passage outside
om dit waar te neem.
to depict that.
And you say there was no camera to show where the cars actually parked.
Meneer sê daar was geen kamera om te wys waar die voertuie parkeer.
Kan nie meer spesifiek wees waar, want daar was mense het oor hele plek geparkeer.
Can you be specific, your worship, where? Because people parked all over.
That's my question, sir. Was there no camera that shows you anywhere where vehicles were parked on at
Die
the
vraag
time?
is, was daar geen kamera wat gewys het waar die voertuie geparkeer het nie?
Any of the vehicles?
Enige van die voertuie.
Wel, dis nie belangrik nie. Ek glo nie so nie.
Well, that's not important, your worship. I don't believe so.
Your paragraph 3 says the camera system runs 24/7. It was switched on the 14th April 2018 and in good working order also.
Daar sal die derde paragraaf sê dat die stelsel die werk en ek wanneer dit aangestel is.
Korrek.
14 April.
Korrek.
The recording time backup that it's kept is around 10 days.
Stem meneer saam met hy?
Ja.
Dat die opname backup daar is 10 dae.
Ja.
Yes.
The recording of the footage firstly was recorded on the same day of the incident into the flash drive that was given to Colonel James Bronkhorst in his request. You confirm that?
Yes.
Bevestig meneer hy?
Yes.
Yes, I do confirm.
4. I then saved the video footage on the hard drive of the CCTV system to ensure it doesn't get overwritten.
Korrek.
That is correct, your worship.
I further confirmed that another copy was given to Colonel Sianejo,
Stem meneer saam.
Ja.
PIU,
I do agree.
on his request.
Yes.
Also confirmed that there was no any alterations, editing or changes made from the recording to the downloading of the footage. That's all I can state.
bevestig meneer wat daar staan.
Ja, korrek.
Is correct, Your Worship.
You then say here, I know and understand the contents of the statement. I do not have objection taking the prescribed oath. I consider the prescribed oath to be binding on my conscience. You've then signed, your oath is taken by Kechiso Leslopi on the 13th of September 2019. It's a detective constable from Eriton. Do you agree with that, sir?
Sê meneer saam met die eete geneem was dit die verklaring was 13 September 2019.
Ja, ek stem saam.
I do confirm, Your Worship.
Your Worship, I ask that the previous statement be G2 and this be G3. Now, so when you made your second and your third statement, you weren't asked to keep it short or leave anything out. Do you agree with me?
Toe meneer die tweede en die derde verklaring gedoen het, nie, was meneer gevra om het kort te hou en enige iets uit te laat nie.
Nee, ek was nie.
Nou, wasn't?
Why have you never mentioned the copy that you made for yourself and took home, sir?
Hoekom het meneer
In
nie
all
genoem
three
nie?
statements.
Hoekom het meneer in al drie verklarings nie genoem dat u 'n afskrif vir uself gemaak het nie?
Want weer eens, dit is nie belangrik wat nee, dit is nie belangrik wat is. Wat belangrik is. Dis
Ek verstaan nie, Your Worship, I don't understand.
I
the
also
question.
don't, and I understand what
the
your point
answer,
is.
Your
Please.
okay. So vir my is dit nie of ek een kopie vir my by die huis gehou het nie. Wat vir my belangrik is wat is die content van die beeldmateriaal.
Your Worship, it is not important that I kept one copy for me at home. What was important is the content of the material, Your Worship.
So you decided you're going to leave that fact out of all your three statements.
Meneer het toe besluit dat hy feit, meneer gaan hy feit uitlaat by al drie verklarings.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
Now, it's a matter of fact that there was video footage shown in the media,
Yes.
posted by AfriForum and other people. Do you know where they got their video footage from?
Weet meneer waar Afroforum en hy hulle beeldmateriaal gekry het vandag hulle?
Nee, nie by my nie.
No, Your Worship, but not by me.
That you had the secret little copy at home that you didn't want to share with anybody else or tell
Maar meneer het
anybody.
die geheime afskrif gehad wat meneer nie met iemand anders wil gedeel het.
Dit is korrek secret dat ek dit vir iemand anders uitlek nie.
That is correct, Your Worship. Secret so that it cannot
And you took care of
to
it and
anybody.
looked after it all the time.
Meneer het na dit gekyk vir
Ek het dit veilig by my gehou, ja.
ek heb die safe with me, Your Worship.
Where is it now?
Waar is dit nou meneer?
Ek het dit op 'n harde skyf gekopie op 'n CD hier gesit. Daar.
Your Worship, I copied on a hard drive on a CD, put it there and I put it there.
So you made a multiplicity of copies. Do you agree with me?
I
Stem
do
jy
it.
saam?
Ja, ek stem saam.
Yes, I do agree.
So how safe was that, sir?
Hoe veilig is dit meneer?
Wel, dit het op die TV uitgelek tot toe.
It leaked out on the TV, Your Worship.
Dit was dit nie deur my nie.
But it was not me,
Nou het almal dit gesien.
but now everybody saw it.
It didn't trouble you at all. Well, after telling the court you kept it safe at home, your big secret copy, now it can be played by all and sundry as long as the world can see it. You
That's
see
not,
how you've changed your stance in
no, I
relation to this
don't.
distance?
No, I don't. That's not. I didn't say that now people in the world.
You know, let's leave the interpreter out because you answer whenever you're under pressure in English as you wish. Do you agree with me?
Askies tog mevrou.
No, it's a matter of fact, sir. The court's observed you. Every time you want to come with an answer, you do so in English. Do you agree with me?
Sorry, you
One
must
moment.
forward object. You wish him to intervene in this, as the witness has indicated. The choice of his language.
Thank you. So it is. The court will rule in favor of the state. The witness will testify in Afrikaans, but as you have indicated, the court have observed
Thank you.
until the state have intervened. Sir, the court is going to remind you once more. You have chosen the language of Afrikaans, so wait for the questions to be interpreted before prior responding in English. You understand? Keep to the language you wish to speak.
Over die stel wat meneer gevra het, nie?
Dis reg so u edelagbare.
As the court resolution. What then made you decide the version that you're going to give to Colonel Bronkhorst is going to be longer than the one that you're going to give to Colonel Sianejo. Sorry.
Wat ek gemaak het meneer besluit dat die afskrif van wat meneer vir kolonel Bronkos aanbied dat dit langer is en die ene wat meneer vir kolonel Sianejo gee korter.
Die twee weergawes, kolonel Bronkhorst het vir my gevra, hy soek net 'n bietjie voor en agter.
Your Worship, the two versions of Colonel Bronkos asked me that he wants a bit from just the beginning and at the end.
Volgens my is al twee kopies, dit wys die insident.
According to me, Your Worship, both copies shows the incident.
Ek tel nie die sekondes nie.
I don't count the seconds.
Wat belangrik is dat al twee se wat die insident op al twee kopies presies dieselfde is.
What is important is that on both copies, Your Worship, the incident is the same.
Now, if that's your view to it, please can you tell the court how you put the images from the different cameras onto the one disc? Because it wasn't as simple a procedure as you've told the court. We know that you used two different cameras images, you put them together on one disc or two discs. Please explain to us who chose the footage from where, because you had a whole lot of views.
Die advokaat meneer moet verduidelik, nee, maar dit is nie so maklik soos meneer voorheen gesê het. Want daar was twee kameras en meneer het al twee beelde gevat, beeldmateriaal van al twee kameras. Hoe was dit moontlik meneer het op een?
Ek glo die woordkeuse van mending them, dit is die woordkeuse is verkeerd.
Your Worship, the word choice is wrong.
Ek dink dis eenvoudig.
I think it's simple.
Elke liewe kamera wat 'n label het op die stelsel,
Every camera that has a label on the system
het sy eie leg.
has its own file.
Jy trek daai af en jy sit dit op die stokkie.
Take that off, you put it onto the stick,
Jy vat die ander kanaal sin
take the other channel,
en jy sit dit ook op die stokkie.
and you also put it on the stick.
Dis eenvoudig.
That's simple.
And as I understand your testimony, it was Colonel Bronkhorst who told you in the first copy that was made how long before the incident to begin and how long after the incident to stop. Is that correct?
Meneer sê dat kolonel Bronkos die persoon was wat gesê het hoe lank voor die voorval nou meneer op af, right? En hoe lank na dit meneer afsny. That's correct.
Dit is korrek.
That is correct.
Did you also show him all the different views of the different cameras for him to decide which views he wanted on on record?
Het meneer om al die van al die kameras gewys dat hy besluit dit wat hy nou soek.
Nee, want dit was net op daai kameras waar die insident gebeur het.
No, Your Worship, because it was only on the cameras where the incident took place.
Now, you don't know when you gave the so-called official copy for official purposes to Colonel Sianejo, is that correct?
Meneer kan nie wanneer meneer die afskrif van kolonel Sianejo gegee het.
Vra jy, ek kan nie die datum onthou nie, of vra jy dat ek nie die insident kan onthou nie, meneer Ouders?
Do you ask me if I don't remember the date or I don't remember the incident?
Question is very simple, sir.
Die vraag is
You
baie
can't
simpel.
remember the date when you gave that footage to Colonel
Dat is
Sianejo.
korrek.
Meneer kan die
Dit-
datum onthou nie.
Dit is
wat meneer
korrek.
vir
Ek kan nie die
kolonel
datum onthou.
Sianejo gegee het. That is
Yeah.
correct, Your Worship. I can't remember the date.
If he had given you an official receipt for it, you'd have some record of when you handed it over. Do you agree with me?
As hy vir meneer 'n oorspronklike
Kwitansie.
Kwitansie.
kwitansie gegee het, dan sou meneer rekord gehad het van dit. Wanneer hy dit kolonel het aanvaar.
Gee die polisie kwitansies uit?
Do the police give receipts?
No, the court is not going to allow you to ask questions, sir. Just answer the question.
Meneer kan die vraag vra nie, meneer die vraag antwoord. Verstaan nie?
Ja, as hulle dan sou ek 'n rekord, maar ek het nie 'n kwitansie.
If Your Worship, I would have had a record, but I don't have a receipt.
So you didn't have a receipt, and what I want to put to you, sir, is you make no mention anywhere in any one of your 3 statements of it being placed into a sealed forensic bag. Do you agree with me?
Meneer noem nie in een van die 3 verklaringe dat meneer het in 'n verseelde forensiese sak gesit het nie.
Dis korrek, ek het nie.
That is correct, I did not.
And I want to put you, that's because it wasn't put into an official forensic bag with a seal number and you signed on it or given any confirmation of the seal number. Do you agree with me?
Ek wil kan sê dat dit so van jy stel dit aan jou dat dit nie in 'n seele 'n forensiese sak plaas het nie, 'n seelnommer nie. En dat meneer hom teken het vir dit verander kan aangaan.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
In fact, it seems like a very informal procedure. You had been told by Colonel Bronkhorst that the police will approach you for an official copy. You then were approached by Colonel Sianejo and you gave him a copy and it was very informal. Do you agree with me?
Stem meneer saam met 'n informele prosedure was. Dat de Broncos meneer gesê het dat de kolonel Sianejo van die polisie vir u gaan nader en dit het so gebeur.
Ek stem saam, ja.
I do agree.
In fact, I'm going to go one step further. Never mind that there was no seal or anything. You never even deposed your statement saying, I'm now handing this over to you on this date at such and such time. When you handed it over to Colonel Sianejo or Colonel Bronkhorst, do you agree with me?
Toe u die afskrifte oorhandig nie en sê, op hierdie datum gee ek vir u vir my die afskrif en miskien die kolonel teken, u het jy daai verklaar.
Nee, ek het nie.
I did not.
Now, before you gave it to Colonel Sianejo, did anybody telephone you to make an arrangement to come and collect or to see you in this regard?
Voor meneer dit aan kolonel Sianejo gegee het enige iemand miskien van meneer kontak en reëling getref voor dit van normaal of meneer
Die kolonel Sianejo homself het my gebel.
Your Worship, Colonel Sianejo himself phoned me.
And what are your normal working hours, sir?
Wat was u normale werksure?
7:30 tot 4:30 maandag tot Vrydag
7:30 in the morning to 4:30 the afternoon, Monday to Friday.
en dan Saterdag omtrent van 8 tot 11:30.
And Saturday from 8 o'clock to 11:30.
What time did this funeral end on the 14th of April
Die
2000?
14 April 2018, hoe laat het die begrafenis geëindig? Hierdie begrafenis.
Dit was na 9 uur gewees in die aand.
It was after 9 that night.
So you worked late that day and you even saw Colonel Bronkhorst outside of your normal working hours. Do you agree with me?
Ek stem meneer saam met u laat gewerk daai aand en u het vir kolonel Bronkhorst gesien buite u werksure. Stem saam.
Ek stem nie saam nie want dit was dit was my offisiële dit was buite my offisiële werksure gewees.
Yes, Your Worship, it was outside my official work hours.
Just one moment. I notice it's 11, it is tea time. The court is willing to work through its tea time if all other officials confirm to work through the work tea time. Mr. Baba?
May I request you rather adjourn for body plate?
Thank you. As indicated, it is officially tea time, so all officials is entitled to the tea. The court cannot deprive them of such. That's why the court have mentioned it if the parties are willing. Mr. Klingbeil, you are still under oath. You are not allowed to discuss your evidence with anyone. Do you understand?
Meneer is nog steeds onder eed. U kan nie getuienis met enige iemand bespreek.
Just before the court adjourn, I believe it's 15 minutes tea time, so the court will resume at 15 minutes past 11.
Duly noted, Your Worship.
Mr. Malema, as well as Mr. Stein, the court will just shortly adjourn for tea and we will resume at 11:15. The matter will currently just stand down. Mr. Baba, I'm leaving the evidence as well as the charge sheet on the bench.
That's
Just
fine, Your
secure the evidence do not get missing. Thank you. Court adjourned.
Alright.
getting old.
Wil jy water drink?
Eers 'n bietjie water sal lekker wees.
Badkamer toe gaan?
Ja,
Okay, gaan jy eers die badkamer of water drink?
ek dink laat ek gou eers die badkamer toe gaan en kom ons
Okay. Ouders? Gaan jy weet waar dit is? Your white man. Yes, you must just ask for what the age is. Okay, do you have another extra glass? Bring a glass? Yes. Okay. She's good. But she was no much. She was. Yes, I think you take them. There was less of them. Okay. Yes. Yes.
No, when you work with leaders, you say,
Oh, who's that?
What did this guy say before we did the last meditation? He asked about the process of medicine.
do you want to take the tea or do you want
Oh, he was asking about tea. Sunday you guys killed us. I was too much. I decided that I have to drag myself forward.
Because the show was before. Just check. You see two small white boxes. One is small like an 8 white container, and then there's another one where you put the lid of the coffee. That's the lid. There's a side. There's two links which are supposed to. The one with the name, there's a list of other people's names. That is the one. There's stuff whose names and I think it's yellow. And who is it lost? What I said to the IO. On the first, on the first, so she
I can give you water, but I can't open it. Not about it. How many minutes have I still got left? 6. I'll be back.
It's important. It's creating
Oh.
You're going right now, didn't you?
All the minimum.
Yes, it's brilliant. I think it's a brilliant question. Because he worked with it.
No. In order to create the sequence around the block, I think I'm going to put it Broncos. Not to the upper theater or after Broncos.
No problem.
You know, you're just letting me call more and more witnesses. That's what you're doing.
Sorry so
I
much.
know, but I already started. I want
Sergeant,
witnesses.
I got you, eh?
Nama. But what covers it? It's a question of this. We don't discuss it. But otherwise, you're going to roll you. Maybe look at the thing anyway. We'd rather get click into the other two witnesses. We'd rather deal with the eyewitnesses and this witnesses, yeah, just there based on what's on record. But the others,
Is Nama here?
I think someone checked. I'm busy here. I had to run. I had to run those things. So, I'm not young as I used to be. The blood is picking up.
Kyk man, how's it?
If we can at least finish this guy, the Broncos thing, right? What today? It'll be a bonus. Let's go to the exam. Another 2 hours.
Thank you.
Maybe I should put Anna Marie. Maybe I should put Anna Marie. Maybe I should put Huh? Nah, as you can see today, Lawrence, today I came I kept the recorder.
Where did that come from? Great.
I'm exhausted. My father is artistic. Nothing around, so he's in Milpark Hospital. I don't know where he's, but they need to do on the assessment dealt with first operation, and on the main artery there's a little bit of blockage, so they might need to blow it out. But they don't want to do the operation now. They first want to give him a couple of days. My mother is still. My mother is turning 90 now on the 23rd. As I tell you, I'm playing doctor, I'm playing gatekeeper. You know, it's and it's still prepared for these cases, so. But I think we did quite well in the sense that the way we did in the evidence, everything is now going the way it's supposed to be. I said, at the end of the day, at least we're getting power with the case. I want to finish my 3 witnesses. Maybe the 4th one takes to Lawrence. It depends on his cross-examination. I might have to call a 4th witness. For the battle. And there's no disclosure for that, Mr. Otis. Mr. Otis, there's no disclosure for the battle.
Get in the box to explain it.
Huh?
Get in the box to explain that.
I can explain it. I don't have a problem with it. Huh?
That box there.
Yeah, it's fine. Same as in Julie. You know, if you can ever get in Julie's case, there has been so many applications in that case, and the judgments are so beautiful that a lot of people don't understand. The transcript is big, but law-wise, it is so
It
important.
goes even further back. Go look at the decisions made by Corbyn.
Yeah, so
Not sorry, I made a mistake. Not you go look at what's his name in Victoria? Murphy. Does Murphy. Go look at what he says. You see, analyze that case.
no, but I'm saying is there are some beautiful judgments.
And that always finds interesting. When you look at the case involving the politicians, you see how different things are. Bongo's 174. Come on, I love it. So
Your
if you haven't
friend
agreed
is
the specific
defending.
price, you get a 174.
Your friend is defending.
Did you tell me you didn't know? Did you see Krishna's article on that?
I haven't had a
Yeah,
chance.
you have to read this.
I haven't had a chance to read law, but I haven't had a chance to read law for the past 2 weeks. Not even articles, law articles is law. I haven't had a chance. The personal letters come
I
out.
want to hear your version. The Bongo decision.
Oh, they should be press release. Should be press release.
What's your decision? What's your view on the Bongo decision? Show Krishna said.
Nilan Kusam. Nilan Kusam. Okay, so we'll probably leave Sianejo for tomorrow. We'll do Dion, and then we'll do Broncos next. And tomorrow they will lead Five liters.
back on record.
Not yet, Your Worship. Thank you, Your Worship. We're back on record.
Thank you. It is case number 3/4067/2019. The state Mr. Julius Malema, one other. The appearance at the resumption is as before. Mr. Malema and Mr. Ndlozi, you may be seated. Thank you, sir. Can you indicate to the court your full names and surname?
Die volle naam is van
Dion Klingbill.
Mr. Klingbill, you're still under oath. You have not discussed your evidence with anyone. Is that correct?
meneer is nog steeds onder eed. Meneer, wat jy hier is, dat hy nog met enige iemand gesprek nie, is dat correct?
Dis korrek.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Otis. It's your witness.
Now, Mr. Klingbill, I want to go back to the copy that you made for yourself that you took home. Do you understand that?
Ons gaan nou terug na die afskrif wat meneer vir uself gemaak het en op huis toe geneem het. Verstaan nie?
Ek verstaan.
I do understand.
Can you remember when you made this copy?
Kan meneer nou wanneer meneer die afskrif gemaak het?
Dit was nadat kolonel Bronkhorst by my was en dan was dit natuurlik voordat kolonel Sianego sy kopie by my opgetel het.
Your Worship, it was after Colonel Bronkhorst was with me. Then it means it was before Colonel Sianego came to get help from me.
But that's a period of weeks, as I understand you.
Dat is een periode van weke, meneer, als
De-
ik voor recht verstaan.
Dis korrek.
That is correct?
So you can't give us a precise date or day when you did so.
Meneer kan ons nie 'n presiese datum sê nie.
Nee, ek kan nie 'n presiese datum sê nie.
No, Your Worship, I can't give you the precise date.
When you made that, let's call it personal or private copy, did you ask your employer if you could do so?
Toe meneer u persoonlijke afspraak gemaakt het, het u werkgever gevraagd of u dat kan doen.
Ja, ek het.
Yes, I did.
Whom did you ask?
Wie het meneer gevraagd?
Dit was die Health and Safety Theo van der Walt.
Theo.
Theo.
Phil.
T-H-E-O, Theo.
Theo.
Your Worship, it was Health and Safety Theo van der Walt.
And did you obtain permission to do so?
Het meneer toestemming gekregen om te doen.
Ja, ek het.
Yes, I did.
So it was an official thing that you said to them, I'm going to make a copy, or to Theo van der Walt, and he said, no problem, or he gave you permission to do it.
Meneer het vir Theo van der Walt gesê, u gaan 'n afskrif maak en het gesê, dat is geen probleem, u kan het doen en u het het toegedoen.
Dis korrek, ja.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Why have you never mentioned that in any of your 3 statements?
Hoekom het meneer dit nie in enige van u 3 verklarings genoem nie?
Want ek het nie gesien dat dit relevant is nie.
Because I didn't see that it's relevant, Your Worship.
Yeah, as I understood your previous answer in this regard, you don't have that original device that you took it home on, is that correct?
I didn't get the question.
As I understood your previous answers, you don't have that original device that you took that copy home on, is that
So sê
correct?
meneer se vorige antwoord verstaan het, meneer sê meneer die oorspronklike, terwyl meneer het huis toegeneem het, meneer het
Nee,
dit nie.
ek het dit nie meer nie.
I don't have it anymore.
What happened to it?
Wat het gebeur met dit?
Dit is ek het die footage van dit afgevee.
I wiped the footage off from it.
Ek het baie lank klaas daai spesifieke flash drive gesien.
I saw that specific flash drive a long time ago, Your Worship.
Is it lost or do you know where it is?
Was dit verlore? Of weet meneer waar dit is?
Nee, dis verlore.
It's lost.
And you maintain that you're not the person that leaked it to the media?
En meneer hou toe dat meneer nie die persoon is wat dit aan die media gelek het nie.
Tot die dag wat dit gelek het, het ek dit net vir die polisie gegee. So ja, tot daai dag toe was dit nie ek wat dit gelek het aan die media nie.
Your Worship, till the day that it was leaked, I only gave it to the police, and it was not me that leaked it to the media.
And after that, sir?
En toe dit uit was, ek het dit vir niemand anders oorhandig.
And when it was out, Your Worship, I didn't hand it over to anybody else.
But when you resigned or left, your former employment, did you say to Theo van der Walt, I've still got that incident, you need it back when you handed back all of your material or items that belong to your employer?
So, u werkgewer verlaat dit, né? Het meneer vir jou gesê dat u nog steeds daai afskrif het? Nodig hy dit of so?
Nee, ek het nie.
No, I did not.
So, as we stand here today, you have no idea where it is.
Met verwysing tot die
Just ask the question in Afrikaans.
I didn't hear the question properly, was it?
Masaurus?
As we stand here today, you have no idea where it is.
Meneer het nog steeds idee waar dit is nie. Jy hou nog toe dat meneer nie weet waar dit is.
sien daar's niks op nie, maar ek weet nie waar daai stokkie nou is nie.
There is nothing on it, Your Worship, but I don't know where that stick is.
Where did you keep it until you got rid of it?
Waar het meneer het gehou tot
Lost
meneer
it.
ontslag geraak het van dit?
In my lesenaar.
Robot?
There was no control mechanism exercised over it, you agree with me?
Dit was nie 'n kontrolmeganisme daar wat dit meneer het gehou het nie.
Wel, dit was in my huis.
It was in my house, Your Worship.
Now, not having the original here, you cannot prove that it wasn't tampered with, do you agree with me? It's impossible, is it?
Anders meneer nie die oorspronklike het nie, kan meneer nie bewys dat dit nie getemper was meneer nie. Dis onmoontlik dat meneer dit kan bewys.
Ja, is onmoontlik.
Yes, it's impossible.
Now, you worked at Memorial Park from 2007 till 2020, which is some 13 years, is that correct?
Meneer het van 2007 af by Memorial Park gewerk tot 2020, dis omtrent 13 jaar, correct?
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
Besides this incident, did you ever take home footage of any other incident that took place there?
Behalwe hierdie voorval, het meneer enige beeldmateriaal huis toe geneem van enige voorval?
Ja, ek het al.
Yes, I did.
What other incidents did you take home?
Wat 'n voorval was dit?
Ons het 'n insident op kamera waar iemand 'n gasbottel gesteel het.
Your Worship, we have an incident on camera where somebody stole a gas bottle.
And didn't you use that at work to prove the theft of the gas bottle?
Het meneer dit gebruik by die werk nie, om te bewys die diefstal van die gasbottel nie?
Nee, ek het dit vir die polisie oorhandig.
No, Your Worship, I handed it over to the police.
But that means you didn't take it home and keep it at home, you handed it over, do you agree with me?
Dit bedoel dat meneer dit huis toe gevat het en my huis gehou het, meneer dit oorhandig.
Om duidelik te wees, ek het dit daai tyd het ek 'n kopie huis toe gevat en dan het ek ook dieselfde kopie vir die polisie gegee.
You should, to be precise, I took a copy home and the same copy I gave to the police.
And where's that footage?
Maar sy afskrif.
Ek het die so 1 of 2 keer het ek die polisie opgevolg en daar was nie verwikkelinge gewees nie.
Your Worship, I followed the police up to once or twice, Your Worship, but there wasn't anything that was happening,
En ek het dit toegelos.
and I just left it.
En nou is dit vernietig.
And now it's destroyed.
And what happened to that case? Was it finalized?
Was die saak gefinaliseer?
Nee, dit was nie.
No, it was not.
And similarly here, you had a copy, the case hasn't been heard, but you, for some unknown reason, went and deleted it yourself, is that correct?
Hierdie het meneer 'n afskrif gehad, die saak was nog nie gehoor nie, maar vir een of enige ander rede het meneer dit afgevee, gedelete. So,
Dis korrek.
that's correct.
But if you kept it for safety purposes and you knew about the trial, why did you delete it?
Maar aangesien meneer dit nog vir veiligheidsrede gehou het, nie? En meneer het geweet dat daar 'n verhoor gaan wees. Hoekom het meneer dit nog gedelete?
Nee, maar onthou daar was nie 'n verhoor by die gasbottel se insident gewees nie.
But remember, there wasn't a trial at the gas bottle incident.
I'm talking about this
Ons
incident.
praat van hierdie voorval. Van hierdie voorval. At for the office.
Can you just
I'll take you step by step, I'll rephrase your worship.
You may do so.
In relation to this incident, you decided of your own accord to make a copy and take it home.
Zonder pad van hierdie voorval, meneer, het meneer zelf besluit om 'n afskrif te neem en het huis toe te neem.
Korrek.
That is correct.
Right. This trial hasn't been finalized and you've destroyed,
Die verhoor is nog nie
deleted your original material, is that correct?
die verhoor is nog nie klaar nie, maar meneer het besluit om dit te vernietig
Wag 'n bietjie.
of te delete.
Ek het dit vernietig van die flash drive af.
I destroyed it from the flash drive.
Ek het stil 'n sagte kopie
I still have a soft copy
op my rekenaar
on my computer
by die huis.
at home.
How many soft copies or other versions or copies have you got of this incident?
Hoeveel sagte kopie het meneer of hoeveel weergawe het meneer van die voorval?
Dis tussen 3 en 7.
Between 3 and 7?
It was, sir.
Hoekom meneer?
Wel, die polisie het my op verskeie kere gevra vir die materiaal.
Because the police asked me on different occasions for the material.
Ek het ook aan die hof gegee.
I also gave it to the court.
Who in the court?
Wie bedoel?
Aan die staatsaanklaer.
State's prosecutor.
Which one?
Wat die ene?
Baba, Mr. Baba, Yusuf.
Mr. Yusuf Baba.
And the version that you gave him, where did that come from?
Waar die weergawe wat meneer vir hom gegee het van gekom.
Kyk, toe ek dit nou vir die polisie gegee het, né? Dis dieselfde as wat ek vir die polisie gegee het.
Bishop, when I gave the police, it's the same as the one that I gave to the police.
It's not the question, so where did it come from?
Dis nie die vraag is van waar vanaf het dit gekom.
Dit het oorspronklik van die CCTV-sisteem afgekom.
It originally came from the CCTV system.
You didn't have that at your house, so let's be more honest with the court. Where did you get a copy from that you gave to the prosecutor if you've got 3 to 7 copies lying around?
Waar het meneer afskrif gekry wat meneer vir die aanklaer gegee het dat as meneer 3 tot 7 afskrif het wat rond lê?
Wel, dit kom van dieselfde bron af.
Came from the same
Source.
source, yes. Excuse me.
I'm not interested if it came from the same source. Tell me where it came from, please.
Dit is nie interessant of selfe bron nie. Meneer moet sê van waar gekom het.
Dit kom van my. Okay, so ek het 'n CD-ROM op my rekenaar.
I have a CD-ROM on my computer.
Dit kom van my rekenaar se harde skyf af.
It comes from my computer's hard drive.
But what motivated you to have 3 to 7 copies of this very same incident, sir?
Wat het meneer gemotiveer om 3 tot 7 afskrifte te hê?
Dit is net om dit te hou as een wegraak dat dit nie heeltemal weg is nie.
Your worship is just to keep it if one get lost so that it can be lost forever.
So what you have are copies of copies of copies. You don't know where they fit into the sequence in relation to the original footage. Do you agree with me?
Meneer het afskrifte en afskrifte. Meneer weet nie waar pas dit in die oorspronklike.
Dis korrek.
That is correct, your worship.
Now you were telephoned in our presence, as Mr. Baba has led you on this evidence, on the 9th of March 2020 by the senior public prosecutor at the time, Advocate Anna Marie Smith. Do you confirm that?
Meneer sê dat u gekontak was aan die staatsaanklaer Anna Smith op die 9de Maart 2020.
Ek kan dit bevestig, ja.
I can confirm that, yes.
And the request to you, which was made in our presence, was that the defense wanted the cavalcade footage of before the incident, 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after. Do you remember that?
En die aanvraag op die navraag gedoen is die verdediging het afskrif gesoek van 30 minute voor die voorval en 30 minute na die voorval.
Ek kon dit onthou, ja.
Yes, I remember.
And that call was made to you on the 9th of March 2020 between 0900 hours and 0940. Do you confirm that?
Sorry. Bevestig meneer dat die oproep gedoen was tussen 9 uur die oggend en 20 voor 10 die oggend. Die 9 Maart 2020.
Ek kan ongelukkig nie die tyd bevestig nie. meneer Houders.
Your Worship, I can't confirm the time.
It's not so long ago. Do you remember that it was in the morning?
Maar niet zo lang terug had meneer onthouden dat het de ochtend was.
My geheue wil vir my sê dat dit nie in die oggend was nie.
Your Worship, my memory wants to tell me that it was not in the morning.
But you're not certain.
Maar meneer is nie zeker.
Om eerlik te wees, ek is nie seker nie.
Yes, Your Worship, I'm not sure.
And when you were asked for the 30 minutes before the incident, 30 minutes after the incident, you said that you didn't have it. Do you remember that?
Toen meneer gevraagd het voor die 30 minuten voor die voorval en die 30 minuten na die voorval, het u gesê u het dit nie. Onthou u?
Ek onthou ja.
Yes, I remember.
And you said further that you had given everything, but that you had tried to speak to the company who does the CCTV camera. Do you remember that?
Onthou meneer het meneer gesê u het alles gegee en u probeer om die maatskappy vir die CCTV camera maak.
Ek onthou die gedeelte om te sê dat ek dit nie het nie.
I remember the part that I said I don't have it.
Mag my geheue laat my nie onthou of ek iets gepraat het oor die maatskappy van die CCTV nie.
But my memory doesn't agree, let me remember if I said something about the CCTV company.
Oh, we were there, don't want to testify, but we were told that you had said that you'd speak to the company who does the CCTV camera because we followed up on that afterwards. Can you dispute that you said that?
Ontken meneer dat u so gesê het dat u gesê dat u saam met die maatskappy, die CCTV footage maatskappy praat?
Nee, ek dispute dit glad nie.
I don't dispute it at all.
Ek kan dit net nie onthou nie.
I just don't remember it.
But did you follow up with the company that does the CCTV camera to find out whether they could track 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after the
Ek
incident?
meneer het toe opgevolg met die maatskappy of hulle dit die 30 minute voor en die 30 minute na kan.
Nee, want dit is te laat na die insident.
No, Your Worship, because it's too late after the incident.
So you never followed up.
Meneer het toe opgevolg.
Nie wat ek kan onthou nie.
Not that I remember.
What's the company's name?
Wat is die maatskappy se naam?
Sjoe, dat ek net 'n bietjie dink.
Let me just think a little.
Moet ek gou op my foon kyk of ek miskien nog hulle nommer het.
With pleasure. No, no, if you
Yeah,
need
meneer
to, just,
kan
I'm not going to ask for your phone. If you've got the name there, then please tell us.
Ek het ongelukkig nie die naam nie, ek is jammer.
Your Worship, unfortunately, I don't have the name.
But you've testified that you have no qualifications in information technology, in IT. You were self-taught on the system, is that correct?
Meneer sê dat meneer geen opleiding gehad nie, meneer het dit self geleer.
Die vraag is tweevoudig.
The question is twofold.
Ek het myself geleer om die CCTV kamera op te om met die CCTV kamera te werk.
Your Worship, I taught myself to work with the CCTV camera.
Indien dit relevant is, ek het 'n ander kwalifikasie in soos wat meneer Houders dit uit sê IT.
Your Worship, if it's relevant, I do have a qualification in IT, as the advocate knows it, IT.
What qualification is that?
What's that called?
Ek het twee,
I have two,
Visual Basic Programming
Visual Basic Programming,
en SQL Data.
SQL Data.
But that doesn't qualify you as a computer scientist or expert in the field. You agree with me?
Stel meneer saam.
Ek stem saam.
Yes, I do agree.
Now, we've referred to two cameras. One's referred to, as you see in the exhibit, gate camera. Another one is referred to as Memorial Road. How many other cameras in total are or were connected to this system at the time?
Maar het meneer genoem die twee cameras dat daar ingang is, né?
Yes.
Hoeveel ander cameras was die systeem?
Wel, ek sal die vraag antwoord om vir u 'n range te gee, 'n reeks te gee.
Your Worship, I will answer the question to give you a range.
Ek sal sê kameras.
I would say it was between 5 and 10 cameras.
I'll tell you what my difficulty with your answer is, sir. You were in control of the system. So you had to look at it on a daily basis at work, is that correct?
Meneer was in control van die systeem, meneer moet dit op 'n daaglikse basis gekyk het. Is dit korrek?
Dit is inkorrek, meneer.
It's incorrect.
Okay, so who operated the system?
Wie opereer die systeem?
Hoe dit werk is, wanneer daar 'n insident is, in so 'n geval gaan ons terug en ons gaan kyk.
How it works, Your Worship, when there's an incident, we then go back and we look.
So ons het nie altyd tyd om deur die kameras te kyk as daar nie 'n rede is daarvoor nie.
We don't always have time to go through the cameras if there isn't any reason.
That's not the point, sir. I'm going to go even further back. You were there, employed at Memorial Park at the time when this system was implemented and installed for the first time. Do you agree with me?
Stem meneer saam met u daar was toe dit die eerste keer geïnstalleer is. System. Nie daar reeds by die park gebeur.
Ek was nie daai dag toe dit geïnstalleer was by die park nie.
Your Worship, on that day when it was installed, I wasn't at the park.
But you had reason over your 13 years there to look at the cameras and see what was happening as we've established through your testimony. Is that correct?
Meneer het reg gehad om oor 13 jaar te kyk wat gaan oor die cameras.
Dis korrek.
Yes, that's correct.
Then you had to have seen on the control screen how many cameras were operating.
Meneer kon sien op die controlskerm hoeveel cameras opereer.
Ja, partykeer is van hulle aan, partykeer is hulle af.
Sometimes some of them are on, some of them are off.
How many screens did you have on that multifaceted screen that gave you all the cameras?
Hoeveel skerms het meneer gehad by die skerm van al die cameras wat hier?
Daar was 12 gewees. Jy kan dit stel, né?
It was 12, Your Worship.
So the main screen was divided into 12, from which one infers that there were 12 different cameras. Is that correct?
Die hoofskerm was opverdeel in 12 skerms. Dit bedoel dat daar 12 cameras was.
Dit beteken nie noodwendig dat daar 12 kameras, daar was 12 kompartemente.
Your Worship, it doesn't mean that it was 12 cameras, there were 12 compartments.
Dit sê nie dat daar 12 kameras was nie.
It doesn't say that there were 12 cameras.
What was the name of the system that you had there?
Wat was die naam van die systeem?
Dit was 'n Hikvision.
Hikvision.
And when it was put in and when it was operated, how many cameras did it have the capacity to operate?
Toe dit geïnstalleer is en het opereer is, hoeveel cameras kon het
Sure. Dit sal meer as 12 wees.
Would be more than 12.
And when you looked at it over the time that you worked with it, how many cameras did you observe actually working at any given time?
Toe meneer daar gewerk het vir en meneer kyk na dit, hoeveel cameras kon meneer sien het gewerk? Enige tyd.
As ek gesien het tussen 5 en 10.
Between 5 and 10, Your Worship. Hello?
So there are clearly more than just the gate camera and the Memorial Road camera.
Wow.
Those two, you agree with me?
Dis meer as hy twee cameras.
Ja,
Stem jy saam?
dis korrek.
That is correct, Your Worship.
And if you wanted to at the time, you could have got simultaneous views on the screen of what was happening at all the different places throughout the burial ceremony of the 14th of April. Do you agree with me?
As meneer wou, dan sou meneer kon gekyk het, né? By al die waar die begrafnis toe was op Vrydag die 14de April, kon meneer op al die
Gelyk. Ja,
Yes.
dis reg.
Instead of doing that, you, with the colonel, focused on two particular cameras, being the gate camera and the Memorial Road camera, because you wanted to focus on what was happening directly at that time, at that place. Do you agree with me?
Meneer en die kolonel het net aandag geskenk op die twee kameras. Die ene en die ander wat na die Memorial straat en die wat binne aankyk.
Korrek.
That is correct.
And let's deal with those two cameras. Those two cameras that day must have picked up the arrival of all the dignitaries. Do you agree with me?
Daai twee kameras het opgeneem toe al die personeel daar kom.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
And they would give a reflection of the time lapse between the different arrival times of the different dignitaries.
En het sou die
Do you
tyd
agree
wat
with me?
verval het tussen die tyd wat al die personeel daar opgedaag het, verskillende dignitaries opgedaag het.
Dis korrek.
That is correct.
In other words, if we had a dispute now as to where the accused vehicle fitted into the cavalcade, or if it fitted into it at all, one could look at that video and see, here are all the cars arriving, they arrived at this time, and we could follow each and every car that arrived and the time and order in which they arrived. Do you agree with me?
Stem meneer saam?
Ek stem saam.
Yes, I do agree.
But that video no longer exists. Do you agree?
Maar hy video is nie beskikbaar nie.
Ek stem saam.
I do agree.
So, if the accused say their car was part of the cavalcade, and you can't find a video to dispute that statement, do you agree with me?
As die beskuldige sê dat hulle voertuig geparkeer was by die kerk, meneer het nie 'n video om dit te ontken nie. Stem jy saam?
Ek stem saam met
Ek doe
meneer Houders.
But if Colonel Bronkhorst or Colonel Tsianego had asked you to keep that video footage to show the sequence in which people arrived at the time, you would have had no problem complying with such a request. Do you agree with me?
As kolonel Bronkhorst en kolonel Tsianego gevra het dat meneer ook afskrif hou van toe die mense op almal daar opdag, meneer sou nie probleem gehad het nie.
Ek sal geen probleem
I
gehad
wouldn't
hê.
have any problem.
Instead, they never asked you anything about that. They only asked you about the short footage that we have from these two cameras. Do you agree with me?
Maar hulle het nooit dit gevra nie, hulle het gevra van die kort beeldmateriaal wat ons het van die twee kameras.
Ja, ek stem saam.
Yes, I do agree.
Now, I don't know if you remember that day, but you seem to have been involved driving your golf cart up and down. There were a lot of white funeral vehicles that stopped to the side outside. Do you remember that?
Kan meneer onthou dat daar daar baie begrafnisvoertuie, wit voertuie was wat aan die kant gestop het.
Ek kan so iets onthou, ja.
I can remember something like that.
And I want to put you that there were a number of dignitaries that were allowed to come into Memorial Park in their motor vehicles. Do you confirm that?
Bevestig meneer dat baie van die dignitaries toelating gegee om in te kom in die Memorial Park met hulle voertuie.
Ek kan dit bevestig, ja.
Yes, I can confirm that.
And you, being an employee in charge, even let's call you park manager, operations manager, never had a list of specific registrations of vehicles that were allowed in or not allowed in. Do you agree with me?
Aangezien meneer die in beheer was, daar het meneer nie 'n lys gehad nie van die spesifiek nommerplate van die spesifieke voertuie wat moes toegelaat word en nie toegelaat word om in te gaan.
Nee, nie ek nie.
No, not me.
Did you notice that the vehicles actually had authorizations that allowed them into Memorial Park that day?
Het meneer toe ook gelet dat die voertuie genegeer om in te gaan daar?
Ek het dit opgelet, ja.
Yes, I did notice that.
And I put, do you remember what it looked like?
Kon meneer onthou hoe dit gelyk?
Nee, ek kan nie onthou hoe dit
I
gelyk
can't
het.
remember how it looked like.
Well, I want to put to you, maybe you can or you can't dispute, that the accused vehicle had such an authorization. Do you have any comment?
Die advokaat stel het aan u dat die beskuldige se voertuig ook so 'n autorisasie het.
Onthou dat ek nie self die insident gesien het nie, so ek kan nie dit onthou nie.
Remember, Your Worship, I didn't see the incident personally. I can't remember that.
No, you watched the video several times on any possible version. Do you agree with me?
Maar meneer het die video footage paar keer gekyk.
Korrek.
That is correct.
And I'm going to show you, because I don't want to mislead you in any way. If you look at Exhibit 4.6, I'm going to hand a copy to you. There are two photographs. The one at the bottom, I'm instructed, is the accused vehicle, and you will see, even just looking at this photograph, that there appears to be a document that I'm told is the authorization on the dashboard of that vehicle.
Kan meneer het
Do you have any comment?
Kan meneer Houders, dit is die regterkantste Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah. Yes, it's the one in the middle of the road, the one
Yeah.
on the right-hand side.
aan die regterkant.
Ek sien iets wit.
Ja, I see something white.
Maar ek kan nie sê of dit 'n autoriteitstoegang is nie.
Your Worship, I can't
Maar-
say if it's authorization,
Maar om
gain
u
entry,
maar ja, ek kan dit sien.
but I can see it.
It's clear to anybody that looks at the video, there's something on the dashboard that one cannot make out what it is. You agree with me?
Dit is duidelik dat iets daar is, maar jy kan nie sien wat is dit nie.
Korrek.
That is correct.
And I must put to you, out of fairness, and the court heard the complainant, you can't look at that photo or that vehicle without noticing that on the dashboard. You agree?
Meneer kan nie kyk na die foto of na die voertuig sonder om my op te let nie. Wat daar in die voertuig is nie.
Ek sal saamstem, ja.
I would agree.
Bishop, may I approach both of the accused? I do believe that on the...
You may do so.
Only one remaining aspect, Your Worship. I'll be very brief. Thank you, sir. Do you know what the pixel capacity of the cameras at the gate camera and at the Memorial Road are?
Ken meneer die pixel kapasiteit van die kameras by die ingang en die Memorial Road?
Nee, ek weet nie, ek is jammer.
No, Your Worship, I'm sorry, I don't know.
And finally, premised on your knowledge of programming, having done visual business programming and SQL data, would you agree that every time you make a copy of a copy of a copy, you lose clarity? In other words, the original will be the clearest, but every time you copy it and recopy it, it loses clarity.
Stem meneer saam met as u afskrifte maak, nee? Die eerste afskrif gaan duidelik is, maar
Ja.
die volgende afskrifte wat meneer maak, afskrif, gaan nie so duidelik is nie.
Ek stem nie saam nie.
I don't agree, Your Worship.
Kan ek 'n verduideliking vir u gee hoekom?
Possibly.
Can I give you an explanation why?
Please.
Ek sal saamstem dat wanneer jy 'n fotostaat maak van 'n fotostaat van 'n fotostaat, dan gaan nommer 10 swakker wees.
Won't it begin? Your Worship, I do agree if you make a photocopy from a photocopy, number 10 won't be that good, be weaker.
Maar in my opinie, as jy 'n digitale leer kopie van een na 'n volgende toestel toe, dan sal die kwaliteit nie verswak nie.
But in my opinion, Your Worship, when you download a digital file from one component to another, it will still be the same.
I don't have any qualification to dispute that. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Your Worship. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Baba,
Thank you, Your Worship. Sir, I just got a couple of questions for the examination.
Die aanklaer gaan hieronder vra, nee? Hy sê net vra hieronder vra.
Okay.
Mr. Holders questions you about the affidavits that you deposed to in 2019. Is that correct?
Die advokaat het gevra van die verklaring wat meneer in 2019 afgegeven.
Dis korrek.
That is correct?
Now, the very first time when you gave Colonel Sianejo the copy of the video that you made, what year was it?
Die eerste keer toe meneer vir kolonel Sanago 'n afskrif gegee het van die video wat meneer gedoen het, wat die jaar was dit?
Dit was in die jaar 2018.
It was in the year 2018.
Thank you. A moment, sir. My learned colleague put it to you that you cannot prove that the video was not tampered with. Do you recall that?
Die advokaat het dit gestel en meneer gesê dat meneer nie kan bewys nie dat die beeldmateriaal meer dat daar getemper was met hom. Stem nie saam?
ja.
Kan meneer onthou wat hy gesê het?
Ek kan dit onthou, ja.
I remember what he said.
Now, when we started examination in chief, I asked you for specific identification marks,
Toe
which you
meneer
indicated. Sorry.
Die hoof-
One was a date, another one was time, correct?
die toe u hoofgetuienis begin het die aanklaer gevra enige identifikasiemerk wat u kan identifiseer. Die ene was die datum en die ene was die tyd.
Korrek.
That is correct.
And the copies that you downloaded, was it one continuous recording that you downloaded, or was it segments?
Die afskrif wat meneer gedoen het, was dit een afskrif wat meneer aan een gedoen het, of was dit segmente van die afskrif?
Dit was een gewees.
Dat is one. Yes.
So it's very easy from the naked eye to see if it was tempered with because you have a timestamp. Is that correct?
Dit kan sien, as u kyk na met u oor, na kan de oor, dan kan u sien as dat getemperd was, dat dit die datum en die tyd hou.
Dit is korrek.
Dit is correct.
Right. Now, Advocate Hozet asked you a question that it is correct that nobody told you to save this particular video footage. Do you remember that?
To save or to say? I didn't
To
hear.
save.
To save. Die advocaat het gevraagd, niemand u gevraagd dat u die specifieke beeldmateriaal moet save nie.
Dis inkorrek, meneer
It is incorrect.
kolonel Bronkhorst het vir my gevra wat spesifiek om te save op die
Colonel Broncos asked me specifically what to save.
Now, sir, Mr. Advocate Hozet also asked regarding the conversation that where a request was made for the cavalcade footage 30 minutes before and after. Do you recall that question?
En door u die vraag wat de advocaat gevraagd heeft van die cable footage, waar 30 minuten voor de tijd en 30 minuten na die tijd.
Ja, kan het onthou?
Yes, I remember.
At that particular juncture when that telephone call took place, did you have such video footage in your possession that you could have disclosed to the defense 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after?
Toen die opgemaakt was, het meneer op dat ogenblik in u bezit van hij beeldmateriaal gehad wat u beschikbaar kon gemaakt aan die verdediging.
Nee.
Nou, je was je.
Now, sir, is it correct? And if I'm incorrect, please rectify. As far as the movement of motor vehicles to the Memorial Park was concerned, the South African police were in control as far as access is concerned, and not you as the operational manager.
Die antwoord zei dat als hij correct is, als hij niet correct is, dan moet meneer correct. In verband met die voertuigen, de beweging van die voertuigen, de ingang van die voertuigen, die Zuid-Afrikaanse politiediensten, hulle was hier met die beheer van daarvan.
Dit is korrek.
Nie meneer as 'n bestuurder.
Nee, dit is korrek. Hulle was in beheer van die toegangsbeheer.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Thank you, Your no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baba. Thank you, sir. You are then excused.
Dank u meneer, je heeft gescoord. U kan gaan.
Baie dankie.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Your Worship. With the permission of the court, may I call the next witness?
You may do so.
Mr. James Bronkhorst, please.
Thank you, sir. Can you indicate to the court your full names and surname?
Good afternoon, Your Worship. I'll do it in English, but I'm going to testify in Afrikaans.
In Afrikaans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Before we do start it, can you just indicate to the court your full names and surname?
U volle naam en u van?
My volle naam is James Bronkhorst.
Mr. Bronco, do you have any objection taking the prescribed oath?
Meneer enige beswaar om u eet te neem?
Nee, glad nie.
No, Your Worship.
Do you consider the prescribed oath to be binding on your conscience?
Weet u dat die eed bindend is aan die gewete?
Dis korrek, eerwaarde.
Yes, it's correct, Your Worship.
Raise right hand and repeat after me. You swear that the evidence that you are about to give will be the whole truth, nothing else except the truth, so help me God.
So help
Ek
me
sê dat
God.
die getuienis wat ek gaan aflei die waarheid, niks anders as die volle waarheid is, dan sê u so help my God.
So help me.
Mr. Broncos,
Connie?
the court will
Thank
just
you.
remind you, you indicated to the court that you want to testify in Afrikaans, so stick to Afrikaans. The prosecutor will ask you a question in English, then wait for the interpretation, and then you may respond. You understand? That will be then the sequence.
Staan meneer.
Dis
Die
reg.
aanklaer gaan nie vra in Engels vra, dan wag meneer dat ek dit oortolk. U gaan vra die antwoord in Afrikaans gee. Gee my kans dat ek dit weer oortolk in Engels, so gaan ons voortgaan.
Korrek.
Thank you then.
Understand, Your Worship?
Mr. Baba, your witness.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sir, is it correct that you are employed at the South African Police Service?
Is dit korrek dat meneer werkzaam is by die Afrikaanse polisie dienste?
Dis korrek, eerwaarde.
That is correct, Your Worship.
For how long have you been employed as a member of the South African Police Service?
Vir hoe lank is meneer werkzaam as 'n lid van die polisie Suid-Afrikaanse polisie diens?
34 jaar, eerwaarde.
34 years, Your Worship.
At which unit of the South African Police Service were you stationed at, sir?
Watter eenheid was meneer gestasioneer van die Suid-Afrikaanse polisie dienste?
Eerwaarde, ek is nie seker oor die vraag nie. Is dit van die begin af of is dit huidiglik?
Your Worship, I'm not quite sure about the question. Is it from the beginning or is it now the present?
Well, at present, sir.
Huidig,
At your
meneer.
present.
Eerwaarde, ek is gestasioneer by die Divisie Protection and Security Services.
Division of Protection and Security Services, Your Worship. That's the unit.
And what does your job description entitle you, sir?
Wat is
Entail.
die meneer se take wat meneer moet doen?
Eerwaarde, ek val onder die seksie Incident Management
Your Worship, I fall under the section Incident Management,
wat direk rapporteer aan die hoof VIP Protection.
that directly reports to the head of VIP Protection.
In die seksie Incident Management is daar 2 subseksies.
Your Worship, in that section Incident Management, there's 2 subsections.
Die een is Contingency Management,
The one is Contingency Management,
waarvan ek die seksie bevelvoerder is.
where I am the head of that section, Your Worship.
Can you just pause it for a second, sir?
Only Vikida.
On the 14th of April 2018, were you holding the same position?
Die 14 April 2018 was meneer dieselfde rang gehou.
Dieselfde rang.
Oh, senior, sorry, dieselfde posisie.
Nee, eerwaarde, ek het nie dieselfde posisie gehou nie.
No, Your Worship, I was not holding the same position.
Op daardie spesifieke tydstip was ek die waarnemende section head, dit is die seksie hoof.
Your Worship, at that time I was the acting section head
Vir Incident Management.
for Incident Management, Your Worship.
Now, sir, just in the general perspective, what is the purpose and function of this so-called unit called Incident Management Unit?
Wat is die doel van die eenheid, meneer?
Eerwaarde, ons is verantwoordelik om ondersteuningsdiens te lewer
Your Worship, we responsible to give service, support service, Your Worship,
aan die operasionele gedeelte van die divisie.
at the operational division of the section.
Thank you. Just for record purpose, the court have observed that there is some words that the interpreter do not get in Afrikaans, the English, but the court have also listened to the translation and the court finds no problem unless the state and the defense have any issues with the interpretation. But I'm just drawing that to your attention. As I've indicated, it was not incorrectly interpreted in this regard, and I've sometimes have noticed that the witness is then also assisting with the translation itself. Is there any objections from the state as well as the defense?
None, Your Worship.
Your Worship, I've observed the same, but I've got no objection because the meaning is coming across. So when he said bevelvoerder, which directly translated means commanding officer, and she says in charge of, it amounts to the same thing, so I accept that, Your Worship.
Yes, thank you. The
It's
court
a
just
phenomenal job that's been done.
yes,
Thank
the
you.
evidence, as I've indicated, the evidence is
Thank you,
correctly
Your Worship.
in this regard. We may then proceed. Thank you, ma'am.
Now, sir, on the 14th of April 2018, okay, sorry.
Ekskuus julle afbaar. Ek was nie klaar nie. Die vraag was wat is ons dienste? So dit is dat ons 'n ondersteuningsdiens lewer aan die operasionele gedeelte.
Your Worship, I was not finished. The question was what was our duties, Your Worship, and the answer was that we were giving support services, Your Worship, to the operational section.
Dit behels julle afbare dat ons alle radiokommunikasie monitor rondom die protection services omgewing.
Your Worship, we monitor all the radio communications around the protection services.
Ons hanteer alle insidente wat plaasvind
We also handle all the incidents that take place.
en ons doen dan wat ons noem verslaggewing vir ons senior bestuur rondom hierdie insidente.
Your Worship, we also give, where we have to give reports round about the incidents.
En dan laaste julle afbare is dat indien daar situasie ontstaan waar ons die gebeurlikheidsplan moet aktiveer,
Your Worship, and lastly, it's where we had to activate the incident, the contingency plan, Your Worship.
dat dit ons verantwoordelikheid is om die skakel te wees
Your Worship, it is it's our responsibility, Your Worship, to be the link, Your Worship,
tussen die protection services ontplooiing en die res van die rolspelers wat daar is.
To be the link between the protection services and the rest of the service providers, Your Worship.
So laaste dan ons verrig dan ons dienste in die venue operasionele sentrum.
Your Worship, we then give our services in the venue operational center.
Now, sir, on the 14th of April 2018, as you have indicated that you were the acting commander for the unit, were you notified of any incident that transpired at the funeral of the late Mrs. Mandela?
Meneer, aangezien meneer op de 14 april 2000, aangezien u zei dat u die bevelvoerder was, nee? Dus meneer, was er enige incident wat voorgevallen bij die begrafenis van mevrouw Winnie Madikizela Mandela?
Dis korrek julle afbare.
It is correct, Your Worship.
Myself en Kolonel Smit wat saam met my ontplooi was of wat ek ontplooi by die venue operasionele sentrum.
Your Worship, myself and Colonel Smith, it was posted at the venue operational center.
Het buitekant die venue operasionele sentrum gestaan en ons het gepraat met luitenant-generaal Shitlabane.
Your Worship, we were standing outside the operational center and we were speaking to Lieutenant Shabani.
Lieutenant General Shitlabane.
Lieutenant General Shabani or Shabani?
Shitlabane.
Shabani, Your Worship.
Luitenant-generaal Shitlabane is die divisionele commissaris van Protection and Security Services.
Your Worship, Lieutenant General Shabani is the divisional manager.
Commissaris.
The divisional commissioner, Your Worship, of the services.
Ons is, myself en Kolonel Smit is daar ingelig deur die venue planning officer.
Your Worship, myself and Colonel Smith were informed by the venue planning officer.
Aangaande die insident wat plaasgevind het by die hoofhek.
Pertaining to the incident that happened at the main gate.
Hy het ons ook ingelig dat generaal-majoor Zulu op die toneel is.
Your Worship, he also informed that Major General Zulu is on the scene.
En dat sy besig was om die insident te hanteer.
And she was busy handling the situation.
Die insident het een van ons lede betrek.
Your Worship, the incident involved one of our members.
Die lid was Luitenant-Kolonel Venter.
The member was Lieutenant Colonel Venter.
En na bewering was hy in onderonsie met meneer Malema en Dr. Ndlozi, of hy het gesê meneer Malema en sy delegasie.
Your Worship, he was involved in an altercation between Mr. Malema and his delegation, that's what he said.
Dit is die insident waarvan ons bewus gemaak word.
That is the incident that we were alerted of.
Now, so immediately when you found out there was an incident, what processes did you then put into place to ascertain as to what transpired concerning this particular incident?
Onmiddellik toe meneer gehoor het dat daar voorval gebeur het, né? Wat 'n proses het meneer gedoen om te gaan sien wat het gebeur en so voort.
En dan die eerste ding wat ek gedoen het was om die informasie oor te dra aan die divisionele commissaris, Luitenant-Generaal Stabani.
Your Worship, what I did was to report the information over to Lieutenant General Shabane.
Die volgende ding wat ek gedoen het was om vir Kolonel Smit te vra om te help om meneer Klingbeil te soek, wat die operations manager was.
The next thing that I did, I asked Colonel Smith to help me to look for Mr. Klingbeil, that is the operational manager there.
Ons het meneer Klingbeil op die perseel gekry. Hy was besig of hy het sy rondes gedoen met 'n golfkarretjie.
Your Worship, we found Mr. Klingbeil on the premises. He was busy doing his rounds on a golf cart.
En ek het hom gevra om vir my te kyk of hy enige videomateriaal het van die insident wat by die hek plaasgevind het.
And I then asked him, he has to look for me if he has any video material about the incident that happened at the gate.
Later die middag het meneer Klingbeil teruggekom na my toe
Later that afternoon, Mr. Klingbeil came back to me.
en hy het vir my bevestig dat hy wel videomateriaal gekry het.
He then confirmed to me that he got video material.
Ek het 'n reëling met meneer Klingbeil gemaak
Your Worship, I made arrangement with Mr. Klingbeil.
dat myself en Kolonel Smit na afloop van die event
Your Worship, I made an arrangement that me and Colonel Smith will, after the incident, after the whole funeral,
sal ons na hom toe gaan om 'n afskrif van die videomateriaal te kry.
that we would go to him to get a copy of the video material.
Goed, dit was so rondom 6:00, net na 6
Your Worship, it was round about 6, just after 6,
die namiddag,
the late afternoon.
dat myself en Kolonel Smit by meneer Klingbeil se kantore wat op die perseel was, aangestop het.
Myself and Colonel Smith went to the offices of Mr. Klingbeil that is on the premises.
Meneer Klingbeil het vir ons gesê dat hy 2 kameras het by die hek
Mr. Klingbeil told us that he has 2 cameras at the gate.
en hy het vir ons gesê dat die 1 kamera se videomateriaal is nie goed nie, dit wys nie die insident duidelik nie.
He then said the one camera's material doesn't show the incident properly.
En ek het hom toe gevra oor die ander videomateriaal, die ander kamera se videomateriaal.
And then asked him about the other camera's video material.
Hy het dit vir ons gespeel op sy stelsel
He then played it for us on his system.
en ek het vir hom gevra of dit moontlik is of ons 'n kopie kry van die insident 'n paar minute voor die insident en 'n paar minute na die insident.
I then asked him if it's possible, Your Worship, to get a copy 30 minutes or a few minutes before the incident and few minutes after the incident.
Meneer Klingbeil het toe ingestem en hy het vir ons 'n kopie gesny.
Your Worship, Mr. Klingbeil agreed. He then cut a copy for us.
Ek het 'n geheue-stokkie vir meneer Klingbeil gegee en hy het die inligting op die geheue-stokkie
I
geplaas.
then gave him a memory stick and he then put that information onto the memory stick.
Ek het meneer Klingbeil ingelig dat hierdie vir ons interne ondersoek is.
I then informed Mr. Klingbeil that this is for internal investigation.
En omdat ek 'n gesprek gehad het met Luitenant-Kolonel Venter, dit was so rondom 5 na 5, 10:05, 4:45 die middag.
Your Worship, because I had a discussion with Lieutenant General Fenter, it was about 5, 10 past or 5:15 the afternoon.
Dis Luitenant-Kolonel Venter,
Lieutenant Colonel Fenter, excuse me.
en dat hy aangedui het dat hy 'n kriminele saak gemaak by Douglas polisiestasie.
And then he mentioned that he's going to open a criminal case at the Douglas Dale Police Station.
Het ek meneer Klingbeil aangeraai om seker te maak dat hy die videomateriaal wat hy op sy stelsel het veilig hou.
And then informed Mr. Klangberg that he should keep the video material that he has on his system, keep it safe,
Totdat die ondersoekbeampte om nader en vra vir 'n kopie van die videomateriaal.
until the investigating officer approaches him and asks for a copy of the video material. Is that all, Mania?
Ja, dit is al.
I think that's all, Your Worship.
Now, sir, once Mr. Klingbeil gave you the flash disk, what did you do with it, sir?
Na meneer Klingbeil van meneer die geheelstokkie gegee, wat het meneer gedoen met dit?
Wel, eerlikwaar, ek het die geheelstokkie in my besit gehad
I had the memory stick in my possession
tot en met maandag dis die maandag na die insident plaasgevind het.
until the Monday after the incident took place.
Toe het ek dit gebruik in my briefing aan die hoof VIP Protection Services
I then used it in my briefing to the head of the VIP Protection Services
om die insident te verduidelik.
to explain the incident.
Later het ek hierdie geheelstokkie, wel ek het die geheelstokkie die hele tyd in my kantoor in my besit gehou.
Your Worship, all the time I had the memory stick in my office, in my possession.
Ek is gekontak deur kolonel Nama wat gesê het hy is die investigating officer.
Your Worship, I was then contacted by Colonel Nama, who informed me that he is the investigating officer.
En dat hy gevra het vir 'n kopie van
And
die videomateriaal.
he then asked for a copy of the video material.
Ek het vir kolonel Nama gesê dat hy 'n kopie van hierdie videomateriaal kan kry by meneer Klingbeil wat die source is of die bron is van hierdie videomateriaal.
Your Worship, I then informed Colonel Nama that he can get a copy from Mr. Klingbeil because he's the source of the video material.
Ek het hierdie videomateriaal nog steeds in my besit gehad
I still had the video material in my possession.
en dit was ongeveer 4-5 weke na die insident
And it was approximately 4 to 5 weeks after the incident
dat ek deur luitenant-kolonel Sianego genader is
I was then approached by Lieutenant Colonel Sianago
om 'n kopie te kry
to get
van hierdie wat ek het.
to get a copy of what I have.
Ek het vir luitenant kolonel Sianego 'n kopie gegee op aandrang van kolonel Nama.
Your Worship, I gave Lieutenant Colonel Sianago a copy at the instance of Colonel Nama.
Ek het my verkrygingshoof gevra om vir my 'n nuwe geheelstokkie te trek van die strydbehoeftestoor.
Your Worship, I then asked the person that is in charge of the stationery to get me a new memory stick.
En ek het die materiaal vir hom oorgekopie na my rekenaar toe na die geheelstokkie.
I then copied the material from the memory stick to my computer and to that memory stick.
Ek het ook hierdie geheelstokkie vir luitenant-kolonel Sianego gegee.
I then gave this memory stick to Lieutenant Colonel Sianago.
Hy het dit in 'n sakkie gesit en geseël en dis die laaste wat ek gesien het van die materiaal wat ek hom gegee het.
Your Worship, he took it, that memory stick, he put it into a bag and he sealed it, and that was the last that I saw of this material, video material.
Ek het ook 'n kopie van die insident, die videomateriaal wat ek gehad het gegee aan luitenant-kolonel Venter.
Your Worship, I also gave a copy to Lieutenant Colonel Venter about the copy that I had of the incident.
Dit was so 'n week en 'n half, 2 weke na die insident.
It was a week or 2.5 after the incident.
En ja, dit is wat ek gedoen het met die videomateriaal.
That is what I did with the video material.
Ek het wel ook, ekskuus hiervoor, ek het wel ook later hierdie videomateriaal gevat en op twee ander toestelle op die laptop gesit en die memory stick ge-erase.
Your Worship, I then took this video material later and then put it onto the laptop and I erased it from the memory stick.
Dit is my amptelike werks spoorteken.
Your Worship, it's my official work laptop.
Now, sir, I just want to start backwards and then come forward. You indicated that you gave a copy to Lieutenant Colonel Venter. Was there
Yeah.
any specific reason why?
Meneer sê dat meneer 'n afskrif kopie vir luitenant kolonel Venter gegee het. Was daar enige rede hoekom?
Daar was geen spesifieke rede nie, Elafare.
There was no specific reason, Your Worship.
Die interne ondersoek was reeds afgehandel geweest.
The internal investigation was already handled, Your Worship.
Die informasie wat hy nodig gehad het, het my die informasie was nie geklassifiseer nie.
The information that he needed was not classified.
En omdat hy sentraal tot die insident was, het ek vir hom 'n kopie gegee
Because he was central to the incident, Your Worship, I gave him a copy.
en hy het gevra hy wil dit vir sy litigasiespan gee.
Your Worship, he then said he wants to give it to his litigation group, Your Worship.
Now, sir, when you were with Mr. Klingbeil, did you indicate to him what you were specifically looking for?
Toe meneer Klingbeil genader het, het u hom spesifiek gesê vir wat soek u?
Wel, julle afbare, die bewering wat luitenant-kolonel Venter gemaak het,
Your Worship, what
die bewering.
Lieutenant Colonel Venter. Your Worship, what Lieutenant Colonel Venter said, or the allegations, Your Worship, that is made,
Dat hy by die hoofhek aangeraand was,
that he was assaulted at the main gate.
het ek gemaak dat ek vra vir 'n spesifiek daai gedeelte van die videomateriaal,
It made me to ask for that specific part of the video material,
as ook 'n gedeelte voor die insident en 'n gedeelte na die insident.
also about a part of before the incident and a part after the incident.
Now, sir, you personally viewed this video footage, is it correct?
Meneer het persoonlik na die footage gekyk.
Dis in my julle afbare, dis in my hoedanigheid as die acting section head.
Your Worship, as a acting section head,
Nodig gewees om daarna te kyk.
it was necessary to look at it.
Ek het verskeie kere na die videomateriaal gekyk.
I looked at the video material at different times, Your Worship, or multiple times, excuse me,
Sodat ek wanneer ek my senior offisiere kan brief,
so when I brief my senior officers
die korrekte inligting kan gee.
to give the correct information.
Do you still recall incidents that you saw on the video footage?
Onthou die meneer die voorval op meneer gesien het op die footage, die video footage,
Ek het 'n
materiaal.
redelike goeie idee van wat gebeur het presies. Ja,
Your Worship, I have a good idea of what happened.
Okay. From the video footage that you have observed with your own eyes, sir, and this was put to the previous witness also, right? And he was asked, can you see the arrival of all the dignitaries?
Op die beeldmateriaal wat meneer die footage wat meneer gesien het, kan meneer sien die aankoms van al die persone, delegate wat aankom.
Ja, verstaan. Nie van al die wat is dit, dignitaries soos jy sê.
Not of all the dignitaries, Your Worship.
Was-
Hy-
Ekskuus, julle afbare, dit was nie vir my van toepassing nie, want dit het vir my gegaan oor die allegasie wat gemaak is deur luitenant Venter.
Your Worship, it was not of relevance to me. It was about the allegations that Lieutenant Colonel Venter made to me.
Okay. So, as part of your function, I just want to understand this correctly, sir. An allegation was made to you by Lieutenant Colonel Venter, and as the sector head for the incident management unit, were you tasked now to investigate this particular allegations?
Aangezien weer arrogantie gemaakt is, was meneer toegepast om onderzoek te doen van die voorvallen gebeur het.
Nee, eerlijkwaar, ek dink dit is belangrik dat ons 'n separasie doen tussen die kriminele ondersoek en die, as ek dit kan noem, dan die departementele ondersoek.
Your Worship, no, I think we should make a difference about the criminal investigations and the departmental investigations.
Well,
Ek het geen mag om die kriminele allegations te ondersoek nie.
Your Worship, I don't have any power to investigate the criminal investigations.
now, based on this incident report, would I be correct in saying you received a report from Lieutenant Colonel Venter?
Meneer het 'n verslag gekry van Luitenant-Kolonel Venter.
Dis korrek, eerlijkwaar?
Yes, Your Worship.
Okay. And based on this report that you made, that was made by Lieutenant Colonel Venter, you then obtained the video footage in order to either confirm or to substantiate these allegations.
Gebaseer op die verslag wat meneer gekry het van Luitenant-Kolonel Venter, het meneer toe aanvraag gedoen vir die beeldmateriaal om sy weergawe te staaf of nie.
Dis korrek.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Without having to go on to your report, first of all, sir, this particular report that you do, just for record purposes, is this report classified or declassified?
Die verslag wat meneer doen, is dit geclassified of nie?
Alle verslae wat ons doen in Divisie Protection Security Services, waar daar insidente is, by events of waar VIP's betrokke is geklassifiseerde informasie.
Your Worship, all the reports that we make where VIP dignitaries or members are involved, it's classified for events, Your Worship. Or events, excuse me, Your Worship.
Are you able to testify, just for clarity purposes, on any aspect as to your findings from this or your own internal investigations? Yes or no, sir?
Kan meneer getuig oor u internal ondersoeke of nie?
Eerlijkwaar, ek kan getuig op die uitslag, op die uitkoms van die ondersoek.
I can testify about the outcome of the investigation.
Okay. What can you tell the court about the outcome of the investigation?
Wat kan meneer sê oor die uitslag van die ondersoek?
Eerlijkwaar, gebaseer op die informatie wat ons gekry het op die dag van die incident,
Based on the information that we got on the day of the incident,
die videomateriaal wat ons gevat het,
the video material that we took,
wat ons gekry het van meneer Klinda.
that we got from Mr. Klungel,
Ek moet sê jare en jare is ondervinding van my in events planning and coordination.
I would say years and years of experience of me
In events planning.
as an events planning, Your Worship, excuse me,
Het my tot die slotsom gebring dat Luitenant-Kolonel Venter 100% korrek opgetree het.
it gave me the impression that Lieutenant Colonel Venter acted 100% correctly.
Okay. Let's
Ek- Dit was ook genoem in my briefing aan die hoof VIP Protection Services, generaal Norbert.
Your Worship, it was also mentioned in my briefing to the head,
Okay.
Major General.
Noble,
Ja.
to Major General Noble.
As daar enige rede was tot verdere ondersoek in terme van dissiplinêre aksie of wat ook al, sou ek instruksie gekry het van generaal Norbert.
If there were further instructions, Your Worship, to further investigate or disciplinary investigations, I think I would have got instructions from General Noble.
Now, sir, just to come back, you just testified now that with your years of experience in major events, I would like to now concentrate on the issues on the 14th of April, 2018. Okay?
Meneer het nou getuig oor die ondervinding waar daar voorvalle, waar daar major events is. Hy gaan nou terug na die voorval van die 14de April.
From the video footage that you have seen and taking into consideration your years of experience on major events, are you able to say when the cavalcade, the official cavalcade ends on that video?
As men die beeldmateriaal, ne, videofoto wat meneer gekyk het, kan meneer sê wanneer eindig die I didn't get that word properly.
Are you able to state on record now the video that you viewed? Are you able to state when does the motor cavalcade right ends?
Kan meneer sê vooraf wanneer die motorcavalcade eindig?
Julle achtbare, ek kan gebaseer op my ondervinding wat ek het
Your Worship.
en die beginsels wat ons toepas gedurende major events of groot events.
Your Worship, I can, based on the experience that I have and what we do at major events, Your Worship.
Okay, before you answer that question, you go further in answering, sir. There is put to the witnesses that the motor vehicle in which the two accused were traveling were part of the cavalcade.
Dit
Would
was-
you agree with such a submission or not, and why?
Dit was gestel aan die vorige getuies dat die voertuig waar die twee beskuldiges ingery was deel van die motorcable. Stem u saam of nie?
Julle achtbare, of die voertuig deel was van die konvooi of nie deel was van die konvooi nie, sal ek nie kan getuig nie. Ek was nie die beplanningsoffisier by Orlando Stadium wat die konvooi opgelei het nie, so ek sal nie kan sê of die voertuig deel was of nie deel was nie.
Your Worship, I won't be able to tell the court if the motor vehicle was part of the convoy or not. I was not part of the person or the planning at Orlando Stadium, Your Worship.
Sir, you just testified earlier that you have years of experience as far as major planning. What is a normal general position when a major planning takes place? For example, is it correct in this particular instance, the burial of the late Mrs. Mandela was declared a state funeral by the President of the Republic of South Africa?
Is het correct dat in hierdie voorval was die begrafenis van mevrou Winnie Mandela as 'n staatsbegrafenis
Sover as wat ek weet, julle achtbare, was dit 'n official funeral gewees. Ek is nie seker dat dit 'n staatsfuneral was.
Your Worship,
Was
as
dit
far
nie een?
Your Worship, as far as I know that it was an official funeral. I don't know if it was a state funeral.
Let's accept it as an official funeral.
Maar dit is aanvaar as 'n official begrafenis.
Who is in control of then as far as the security arrangements and the people entering and leaving the cemetery?
Wie is in beheer van die persone, ne? Die mense wat na die begrafenis in moet gaan en uitgaan. En die
Julle achtbare, ek sal nie die normale security konsep beskryf nie.
Your Worship, I won't describe the normal security concepts.
Ek was nie deel van die operasionele beplanning gewees nie,
I wasn't part of the operational planning.
maar wat ek wel kan sê is dat my jaarondervinding in Protection Security Services
But what I can say about my experience in protection security services
is die binnering of die inner circle die verantwoordelikheid van Protection Security Services.
the inner circle is the responsibility of protection services.
Kan ek ook net bysê, julle achtbare, dit is ons verwys partykeer daarna na die red zone toe. As die red zone, dis 'n
We
totale
sometimes say mention it as a red zone.
dit is 'n totale steriele area.
It is a total sterile area.
And if it is a sterile area, can you just first of all, can you explain the concept sterile area first so the court can at least get the full picture, sir?
Okay. Ek kan nie julle achtbare,
Ek hoor het.
ekskuus.
Wat sê meneer?
Ek sê ek kan julle achtbare.
I can, Your Worship.
Vir ons om staatshoofde te huisves of groot hoeveelhede VIP's is dit ons verantwoordelikheid om seker te maak dat die venue wat geallokeer word veilig is.
Your Worship, for us to host an event where there's state officials or dignitaries involved, Your Worship, we have to make sure that the venue that's going to be used, that it's safe,
En insluitend staatshoofde.
including state heads, Your Worship, excuse me, including state heads.
So daar's 'n ongelooflike hoeveelheid resources of hulpbronne wat in so 'n tipe event ingewerk word.
There's a lot of resources that is incorporated in such an event, Your Worship,
Om seker te maak dat daai spesifieke rooi sone of inner perimeter veilig is.
to make sure that that red zone perimeter is safe.
Daar's verskillende rolspelers wat 'n spesifieke rol speel om seker te maak dat daardie area veilig is.
There is different role players that plays a specific role to make sure that that area is safe.
En dit is die verantwoordelikheid van die Event Safety and Security Planning Committee volgens die SASRA Act.
And it's the responsibility of the events planning and security. Security, could you go right, meneer?
Dis Event Safety and
and
Security
Security
Planning Committee
Planning Committee, Your Worship,
om toe te sien dat die korrekte maatreëls gevolg word om die plek veilig te maak.
to make sure that the correct measures are followed to make the place safe.
Now, sir, correct me if I'm wrong, but normally in an official funeral, would there be some sort of protection or protection services used for the people attending? Like, for example, in this particular instance, it's common cause that it started off first at Orlando Stadium.
As het 'n amptelike begrafenis is, nee, dan word sekere sekuriteit gebruik.
En
En dit
from
is
Orlando-
in hierdie saak die begrafenis by die Orlando Stadium begin.
And from Orlando Stadium, the deceased family then came towards four ways to the Memorial Park.
En van die Orlando Stadium af het die oorledene se familie na die begrafenis Memorial Park toe gegaan en wat in Fourways is.
Are these members then in some way given sort of or the use of safety security to ensure that they are able to move from the stadium to the memorial service? What is the procedure there?
Die lede, nee, is daar enige sekuriteit wat aan hulle gegee word om seker te maak dat soos hulle van die stadium af beweeg na die begrafenis park toe.
Die agbare, ons moet onthou dat ons baie resources gespend het of verdeel het om een plek veilig te hou, stabiel te hou.
Your Worship, we must remember that we spent a lot of resources to make sure that the one place is safe
As
or
ons dan-
stable.
As ons dan nou hierdie mense skuif na die volgende plek toe, moet die volgende plek ook veilig wees.
Your Worship, if we move these people now to the next place, then the next place also has to be safe.
Die enigste manier om dit te doen is om hierdie mense dan nou almal in 'n groot konvooi te sit.
Your Worship, the only way to do this is to put all those people in one big convoy.
Ons kan nie normale prosedure volg waar daar byvoorbeeld 'n remote search park is om te help om die voertuie weer veilig te verklaar nie.
Your Worship, we can't make use of remote research party where they have to make sure that the vehicles is safe again.
So ons skuif dan hierdie mense in een beweging sonder om te stop op 'n uitgewerkte roete spesifiek na die volgende steriele sone toe.
Your Worship, we move these people in one movement to the next scheduled place.
Wie verantwoordelik was daarvoor vir hierdie event kan ek nie sê nie. Ek verduidelik die protocol of die principle.
Your Worship, who was responsible for this, I can't tell the court. I'm just explaining the protocol that has to be followed.
Just to get clarity, sir, would the VIP protection unit, JMPD, and any other security detail be part of this convoy to make sure it's there?
Sal die VIP protection eenheid, die JMPD en nog ander lede deel wees van die konvooi?
Dis korrek, Afbare, dis die verantwoordelikheid van die sekuriteitsklaster om toe te sien dat genoegsame sekuriteit beweeg saam met hierdie groot konvooi na die volgende steriele area.
Your Worship, it is correct that the cluster, safety cluster security, has to make sure there's enough security that moves with its convoy to the next sterile area.
Now, if this entire security agencies are now part of this cavalcade leaving from Orlando Stadium to the Memorial Park, are they in any way stopped when entering the building at Memorial Park? Yes or
Die
no?
groot konvoi nou, as hulle nou van die stadium af na die volgende steriele plekke, word hulle op enige tyd gestop of so?
In elk geval, dit is juist nie wat ons wil hê nie. Ons wil nie hê die konvooi moet stop nie.
That is exactly what we don't want, Your Worship. We don't want the convoy to stop.
Die konvooi moet direk beweeg van een plek wat veilig is na die volgende plek wat veilig is.
The convoy have to move from one place that is safe to the next place that is safe.
Now, sir, if you are not part of the convoy, is there any other method of entering the Memorial Park?
As meneer nou nie deel van die konvooi is nie, is daar enige ander manier wat u die begrafenispark kan binnegaan?
As jy nie deel is van die konvooi van daai beweging nie, gaan dit net beteken jy gaan nie toegang kan hê tot die of die voertuig gaan nie toegang kan hê tot die steriele area nie.
Your Worship, if you are not part of that convoy, it means that particular vehicle won't have entry to the park or the sterile area.
Now, the version put to the witnesses was, and I will show it to you, sir, specifically Bishop, as per our exhibit, I think it was recorded was D6, am I right? D6, the photograph.
You show the court the photograph?
The one with, this one here.
It's exhibit 4-6.
4-6.
Referring to this one.
That's correct. Can I just show you that exhibit, sir?
Dis 'n bewysing wat meneer het na die tyd
You wish to like a copy?
It is fine, the court is here.
Fine. I just want you to have a look at the picture first, sir.
Kyk na die prentjie,
The bottom picture
die onderste
that
ene,
marked the Memorial Road.
hy sê,
Do you see that Mercedes Benz?
kan meneer die Mercedes-Benz sien, ja?
Dis korrek daarvoor.
Yes, it's correct.
Do you see at the windscreen there is a sort of a white paper on that
Meneer sien daar so
dashboard?
die venster van dat 'n wit papiertjie daar.
Ek sien dit hier daarvoor.
I see it, Your Worship.
Now, the evidence before this court is that that was a form of accreditation to get entrance into the Memorial Park. What is your comment on that, sir?
Die weergawe is dat daar voor papiertjie daar, accreditation is om toegang te kry tot die Memorial Park.
In elk geval, as hierdie voertuig deel is van die konvooi, ja, dan is hy veronderstel om toegang te kry tot die Memorial Park.
Your Worship, is this motor vehicle is part of the convoy, yes, then he has to gain entry into the Memorial Park.
Can you just pause here for a second, sir? Looking at that photograph and normal on a general principle, would you say that vehicle is part of the convoy? Yes or no?
As meneer kyk
And
na
if
die
not, why not?
foto, kan meneer sê dat die voertuig deel van die konvooi was of nie?
In elk geval, ek kan nie sien wat voor hierdie voertuig aangaan nie en na die voertuig sien ek busse en trokke, busse en minibusse.
Your Worship, I can't see what happens before this vehicle, but behind this vehicle I see buses and minibuses.
As ek sou kon sien dat daar 'n begeleidings span was saam met hierdie voertuig,
Your Worship,
sou ek gesê die voertuig is deel van die konvooi.
if I could see that there's a group, Your Worship, that is leading this vehicle, then I would say they are part of the convoy.
Your Worship, just to get the correct wording,
Just one moment.
escort.
An escort.
Myself in the defense of,
The court is in agreement.
thank you, Your Worship.
Although the context of the meaning was not lost in terms of the evidence, but the word escort is correctly interpreted.
So, sir, if I understand, looking at this photograph, are you saying, and if I'm wrong, clarify this for me, that because there was no escort, you are saying that that did not form part of the convoy?
No, that's not what he said, Your Worship. That's a clearly leading question. It's conclusive and it's totally irregular. We're not expected of Marlon FM to do that.
I will rephrase then, Your Worship.
Even rephrased that he's had the opportunity and he's ruined it now, Your Worship. The question was asked and answered and he put words in the witness's mouth, which is improper. Totally improper.
Your Worship, I take exception to it. The witness's words were specific. I did not say an escort. That was the word. And that's why my learned colleague made sure we clarified it.
It's not about the escort, Mr. Baba. Mr. Hodes was clear in this regard concerning leading question with regards
I
to
agree with
the
it.
escot which have a referral
I agree
to
with that, Your
which
Worship,
was
and I will
put
step
in.
away from that point.
Thank you.
But
then.
to get clarity without dealing with this picture, sir, if there is a convoy under normal circumstances, forget about this incident, how would you determine when the convoy ends?
Meneer, as 'n konvoi is, hoe gaan meneer nou aanstel dat die konvoi nou eindig? Sorry, net sommer net.
Julle agbare, ja. Dis baie duidelik hoe die konvoi opgestel word en hoe hy afgesluit word of waar die einde is van die konvoi.
Your Worship, it is specifically where the convoy is made up or start and where it ends, Your Worship.
Die konvoi moet begin met begeleidingsmense, of dit van die polisie is, van die militêre polisie is, van watter sekuriteitsafdeling. Hy moet mense voor die konvoi hê.
Your Worship, the convoy has to have escorts, if it's from the police or which security company or the military police, but they have to be in front of the convoy.
Hulle moet aan die kante van die konvoi wees
They have to be on the sides of the convoy,
en hulle moet aan die agterkant toegemaak word met die laaste sekuriteitsvoertuie wat polisievoertuie.
Your Worship, and they have to be close at the last, at the back with the police vehicles
Of metropolisievoertuie.
or metro police vehicles.
So met ander woorde, die konvoi is in 'n kokon, as ek dit so kan sê.
If I can state it, Your Worship, the convoy is in a cocoon.
Now, in the event a person is not part of the convoy, are they entitled to get any form of accreditation to enter the so-called sterile area?
In 'n geval waar die persoon nie part van die konvoi is, meneer, kry hy akkreditasie om toegang te kry tot die steriele area.
Die persoon moet voor die tyd aansoek doen vir akkreditasie as hy in 'n steriele area wil ingaan, die individu.
Your Worship, the person has to make arrangement, Your Worship, before he goes.
You must apply before the
Yeah,
time.
excuse me, fly before the time, Your Worship. Before he gets into a sterile area, before the time.
You are now talking about a person.
Yes.
In respect of a motor vehicle,
Meneer praat van 'n persoon in 'n geval van 'n voertuig.
Kan ek net die vraag kry van die voertuig?
Meneer het nou gepraat van 'n persoon.
Ja.
Nou sê die aanklaer in geval van 'n voertuig, as dit 'n voertuig is, wat gebeur dan?
Julle agbare, kan die aanklaer net
Okay.
die vraag herhaal vir my?
Can
your
the
testimony
prosecutors-
before this court is that if a person want to go to a sterile area, they must apply.
Die meneer se het gesê dat 'n persoon as hy in 'n steriele area wil gaan, dan moet hy aansoek doen.
Do you agree with me,
Voertuig.
sir?
Stem nie saam?
Ja.
Yes.
Now, if a person who is already accredited, for example, and is in a motor vehicle, does that motor vehicle require accreditation to enter the sterile area?
As 'n persoon alreeds akkreditasie het en hy is in 'n voertuig, moet die voertuig ook akkreditasie kry om in die steriele area te gaan.
Julle agbare, dit is gebruik dat sekere sekuriteitsmaatreëls gevolg moet word
Your Worship, it is used that certain security measures has to be followed
om toe te sien dat die voertuig en die passasiers veilig verklaar word.
Your Worship, to make sure that the vehicle and the persons or the people that inside the vehicle has to be declared safe.
Nou, dit word normaalweg gedoen by die remote search park.
And that is normally done at the remote search park.
In hierdie geval was dit net langs aan Orlando Stadium gewees
And in this case, Your Worship, it was just next to the Orlando Stadium.
en dan van daar af sal die voertuig met die passasiers ingeeskort of ingebegelei word in die steriele area, die eerste ene.
Your Worship, and in this case, the vehicle with the passengers will be escorted into the sterile area, the first one.
En dan van daar af eerafbare, as hulle dan wil skuif na die volgende steriele area, moet hulle in daai secured package wees, daai, soos ek verduidelik het, die konvooi wees.
Your Worship, and if they want to move to the next sterile area, they have to be in that convoy, Your Worship, as I explained.
As enige voertuig wat by Orlando Stadium was, wat deur die sekuriteitsmaatreëls gegaan het, om toegang te kry, die steriele area verlaat, sal daardie voertuig gesien word as nie meer gemagtig nie.
Your Worship, if any vehicle that did all the applications to get the accreditation or authorization in the sterile area, if that vehicle leaves the sterile area, then that vehicle will not be seen as part of the convoy, Your Worship.
Now, if that,
Excuse
sorry.
achtbare, wat ek bedoel by leave, hy vertrek van die steriele area af sonder 'n begeleiding.
Your Worship, when I say not, it means that he moves from the sterile area without an escort.
Dit beteken dan dat daai voertuig moet teruggaan na die remote search park toe.
That means that vehicle has to go back to the remote search park,
Weer deur die maatreëls gaan
go through the roads again,
en dan weer ingeëskort word in die steriele area.
then that vehicle has to be escorted again into the sterile area.
now, besides that process, if a person has an accreditation on the vehicle, sir, and they are not now part of this convoy, would they be stopped or would they have automatic access to the fuel pump?
Het meneer die vraag gehoord?
Ek verstaan.
Ja, ik kan antwoorden.
Hele aftbare verseker sal daai voertuig gestop word. Dit is die protokol, want hy het nie in 'n secured manner of 'n manier gearriveer by die volgende steriele site.
Your Worship, definitely that motor vehicle will be stopped because that motor vehicle didn't come in a secure manner in that sterile area.
Okay. So, sir, now I'm going to stay away from that point. I'm going to get back to the video footage. When Colonel Nama contacted you, in what year was it for the video footage?
Toen kolonel Nama van meneer gecontact heeft, wat jaar was het voor die beeldmateriaal?
Which you gave to Colonel Sanieko.
Dit was 2018.
It was in 2018.
Ja.
And besides having given, using the video footage for purposes of reporting, you have testified that you have given the video footage to Lieutenant General Fenter, and as well as you gave it to Lieutenant Colonel, sorry. You gave it to Fenter, and as well as you gave it to Sianeko. Besides those, did you give anybody else access to this particular video?
Die beeldmateriaal, behalve Luitenant-Kolonel Venter en Kolonel Nama, het meneer enige iemand anders van die beeldmateriaal gegee?
Ja, laagvare, ek het die beeldmateriaal vir kolonel Sianeko gegee, nie vir kolonel Nama nie. Hy het opgetree in belang van kolonel Nama.
Your Worship, I gave Colonel Sianeko, he acted in front of Colonel Nama, Your Worship.
Okay.
The video footage that is handed in here is Exhibit C. Okay? Do you know who supplied it to the state?
Die bewys beeldmateriaal wat
Exhibit
ingehandig
3.
is
So this Exhibit 3 was it?
as bewysstuk B, weet meneer wie dit oorhandig aan die staat?
3.
Geen idee nie.
I have no idea.
The video footage that you had in all your material times. Okay? Can you recall the video footage, how it was saved, sir?
Die beeldmateriaal wat meneer in u besit gehad het, op alle tye kan meneer aanhou wat dit gesê.
Ja, afbare, ek het die videomateriaal wat ek in my besit gehad het, hoe is dit gesyf? Is dit die vraag?
Ja, meneer.
Wel, dit was eerstens op 'n geheerstokkie gesyf deur of gestoor deur meneer Klingdahl.
Your Worship, it was saved on a memory stick by Mr. Klingdahl.
Daarna het ek dit, kan nou nie presies onthou wanneer, op my amptelike rekenaar geplaas.
Your Worship, I can't remember when. I then saw it on my official computer.
En dan is ek later gevra om vir die staatsaanklaer ook 'n kopie te gee van dit wat ek gehad het.
I was later then asked to give the state prosecutor a copy of what I had.
Dit was gekopieer vanaf my skootrekenaar na 'n geheestokkie.
Your Worship, that was copied from my laptop to a memory stick.
Just a minute, exhibit 3, please. The places.
Can I just get clarity what you want to do with
I just want to
exhibit? You want to-
identify the disc itself.
Yes, there is also what the court is taken note of. It is nearly lunchtime, Mr.
I'm
Bond.
aware that you shall be very fast.
No, I don't want to rush you,
No, but-
so
So I just want to show you this disc. Just the disc to look at it, please.
Kyk na die geheestokkie.
The stick, remember the stick.
Die geheestokkie,
Okay.
sien meneer.
Is that what you supplied the state?
Is dit wat meneer aan die staat gegee het?
Dit is wat ek vir mevrou Hart gegee het. Ja.
Yes, Your Worship.
And how are you able to say that that's the one you supplied to the state?
Hoe kan meneer sê dat dit die ene is wat meneer aan die staat gegee het?
Wel eerder achtbaar, ek onthou die geheestokkie, ek sal nou nie weet wat die inhoud is, weet of dit is wat ek
Your Worship, I remember the memory stick, but I wouldn't know what the contents of that memory stick is.
Joseph, I see 2 minutes to 1. It's possible we adjourn now for lunch. I just want
yes,
the
you are not
witness
going to
confirm.
finish the witness now, so the court will also direct that we break for the lunch hour.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you, sir. You're still under oath. You're not allowed to discuss your evidence with anyone. You understand? You're
verstaan
then,
wel.
you
I
excuse
do understand, Your Worship.
until 2 o'clock. The court will resume at 2. Mr. Malema, Mr. Ngozi, may I stand? We are going to break for the lunch hour. Therefore, the matter is to stand down until 2 o'clock. Court adjourned.
Angelique, Angelique, can I borrow your laptop for a second? Yeah, just put it on for a second. For a second. I just want to check something. What's you? What is it? I'll check something. Doris, can I just flash this, the one you were showing me? Can I see? You want to give me the one flash, just give it to me.
The same one.
Yeah? No, I just want to see something. On the safe time. On the safe time.
No, kusini 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 wanamtengele. Eerder, is maar reg eerder.
En dan kom ek terug 2
I just want to see something.
Ja, as meneer
The one thing I want to show you with you. I don't want to go over. It's yours. So what? No, no. This is a property section. On the one video I seen, the property was taken. The video footage.